Jesus. I'ma turn it up and then I'm gonna take it down. I'ma turn it up and then I'm gonna take it down. I'ma turn it up and then I'm gonna take it down. Jesus. I'ma turn it up and then I'm gonna take it down. I'ma turn it up and then I'm gonna take it down. Turn it up and then I'm gonna 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 turn it up and then I'ma turn it up and then I'm gonna take it down. Give it to me like I'ma turn it up and then I'm gonna take it down.
Else if I unmute it. Good evening, everyone. Hope everyone is good. Good bit of news here. Finally got a decent deal done. Finally got it through. I mean, earlier on, it was coming through during the day from what I heard that it was not going to happen. And then we sit there and start thinking, here we go again. Mr. Levy piss-balling about too much and it's going to affect the transfer. We got it done. He got the job done. And how long it looks like it did take, I think it might have dragged on once or twice, but by our standards, we actually got that done pretty quick. The fact that we've actually got it done now. I mean, deal, as far as I know, 55 million with about another 12 million in updates, this and that. From what I read, the thing he had to change it to, it was basically the same deal as what he offered earlier, but the deal was 55 million with the other 12 million in the aspect of if we win the league and the Champions League. Well, no idiot is going to accept that, are they? Not with Levy, not with Spurs. So he had to change it round to an FA Cup and getting into the Champions League. But that's only what I've read. I won't hold that gospel, but that's only what I read. We can only go by what we read. But Kudus, great bit of business for me. Wasn't necessarily my first choice, but I definitely put him in the top 3 there. And we now actually have a decent winger. We have someone who can take their man on. We have someone who can cut inside and have a shot. We have someone who's willing to stay out wide. We have someone who can run. He can dribble with the ball. He's also got a cross on him. We actually have a winger. And one thing I think we can all agree on is even if he isn't a lot of people's first choice. He's significantly better than the crap that we've got down the sides. I'm happy with this one, definitely. I don't know how everyone else feels, but I think it's a very, very good start for me. And after we've had players like Tell coming in, and we knew Danso was coming in anyway, it's a positive bit of business. It's something you can actually sit there and say, do you know what? I'm happy with that. I'm happy with that deal. I'm happy with the price we paid. I mean, obviously you want to pay less, but for 55 million, and Tell was 45 million. And then we had other players that we wasted 40 million on and everything else. 55 million, 50 million these days, 45, 55 million, you seem to get a pretty average player these days. That's what it is just for a normal sort of player. And now I'm not saying Kudus is quality or nothing, not yet. But I think he's significantly better than the average player. I would say he's good to be very good. And yeah, his season weren't too great last season, but then West Ham was shit, the same as us last year. So I'm sure everyone's happy. So I've got two guests sitting here, going to bring them on with. Well, I'll tell you what, I'll say hello to a couple on the side first. Reason I'm having to watch it, I'm on my bloody laptop at the moment, and every time I click on the button, as you'll hear, it's bloody noisy. So I'll go for a couple of people. Don't worry about the noise on the side. I will mute it when I have to do it later. Phil P, woohoo. Yep, you're definitely happy with that one, mate. Big up to you. Tottenham Scout, big up Dan, big up to you, mate. Mark, how are we doing, fella? I hope everything's good. West Ham crying like me on the loo after a curry. Depends what sort of curry you eat. Depends what sort of curry you can handle. Last thing you want to get of it is piles, mate. That's the one that does you the damage. And Dave obviously saying hello to everyone. But big up to you, Mark. And Ryan, big up Dan in chat. Big up to you and two Marks. Evening all. Hope everyone is good. About time quality came in. And yeah, my missus telling me I was muted. Only noticed that after saying the first bits. It happens. And Carlson, if I've said your name right, forgive me, I'm terrible with names. Big up Dan in chat. Big up to you too. Queen Ellie, how are we doing? Hope everything's good for you. All right, Dan. Big up Kudus is our player. He don't knock any of our players out like he did when we battered them 4-1. He's an aggressive player. I like him, but I'll go to that in a minute. And Paul, evening Dan, not the usual deflated emotions tonight. Just keep going and going now. Totally agree with you and big up to you, mate. And George, very good signing. Totally agree with you, mate, there. Big up Jordan, also saying big up to you too. I'll go for a couple more quick. And Queen Ellie saying he got 5 million off as well. The very Levy-like, okay, there's add-ons too. West Ham needed that money, and I think a lot of us know that, don't we? And also, big Marios, big up Dan, watching you from military. Great deal from Daniel up the Spurs. Yep, big up to you. And Mark Taylor also saying big up. Right, let's bring the others on here. Dave, Ben, how are you two doing?
Good, mate, you?
I'm a happy man with the transfer. Dave?
Yeah, I'm all good. Had a stressful day arguing with the bank and my van hire place trying to get my deposit back. But yeah, apart from that, I'm all good. Good to be back on the stream as well. I was just speaking to Ben in the background there before we started. I haven't actually done one since we won the trophy. So yeah, it's been good to be back on.
So, one I come to, Dave, seeing as we haven't heard from you for a while, your opinion on this bit of business? Go for it, mate. All yours.
Or see, I can see all the positivity in the chat, and I'm probably not the best person to start off because I'm a bit meh about this signing. I think, don't get me wrong, it's an upgrade on what we've got, so that's good. I think the business, I think West Ham paid 38 mil for him. We're getting him for 55 after a couple of half-decent seasons in the Prem. It's kind of what you would expect to pay. As you touched on there, it's not bad financially. He's better than what we got, but I've got a little bit of concern about him, which we'll go into a bit of detail as the show goes on. I don't think he's as good as what people think he is. I also think he's one of those players that we saw last season in our squad that if the going gets a bit tough, he'll do a disappearing act, as he's done for West Ham a bit this season. But that being said, he's got qualities that we haven't got in the squad currently. So he's an upgrade on what we've got, and that's all we can ask for our signings. So if this is a first of 3 or 4 good signings, I'm happy. If this is our big and one and only big signing this summer, then I think we're in for a bit of trouble this season. But I don't want to be too negative. Overall, I'm 7 out of 10 in terms of positivity about Kudus coming.
Well, 7 out of 10, that's definitely significantly better than what we have got up on the wings, isn't it? I mean, Ben, how do you see this one? I mean, did you even think it was going to go through?
Yes, I did. I called it on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, 100%. I felt the moment he came out and said, oh, you know, his agent came out and said he only wants Tottenham. He only wants to negotiate with Tottenham. It was in our hands from that point. So I kind of felt like, yeah, it was going to happen from that point. In terms of am I happy? I'm over the fucking moon, mate. I'm over the moon. I mean, if we look at price-wise first, you've got to consider someone like Gittins for Chelsea, 55 million, has scored 1 goal in 6 months. You know, so I think with Kudus, if you look at his statistics, so statistically, he's the best dribbler in the Premier League. So straight away, you're getting that. I think from last year, he's completed 200 dribbles, and he's the only player in the Premier League to do that. So that's huge straight away. You know, he's exciting, he's explosive. I just think it's a fantastic signing. I really, really do. I'm over the moon with it. I mean, I wouldn't say. I don't know. Would you boys consider it a big statement signing, or would you put it just underneath that?
Well, no, just let me say something here. Lise Davis, big up Dan, David, Ben, and chat. Kudus, nice birthday present for me. So I presume it is your birthday today. Happy birthday, Lisa. Well, go on, Ben. What did you say? What was the question?
Do you think it is a statement signing? It's gone quiet.
It wouldn't surprise me if it was, because it is our sort of signing that we would call a statement signing. But again, there's still a whole window to go. I think we've still got a lot of players to get rid of. So I'd say there's a significant more amount of money in there. Even if we just get rid of the bare crap that we've got, there's still plenty of money to be made in there. And I think there's still a bit to be spent as well, as we didn't actually spend money as such up front on Tell. It was basically the money that was owed to us that would have got paid over the next 2-3 years, and we didn't use it. Obviously, we didn't get it and wouldn't have got it till then. So I don't think that technically cost us anything up front. And statement signing, maybe not. It depends what you want to call a statement signing. But I'm very happy with it. Significantly better than what we got, like I said. I mean, but if we want to mean real business, okay, that one was good. Let's go for the next buyer, basically. Let's get the next player in we need there. But I think that's a fair point you're making on, is it a statement signing or not? Some would say it is. Some would just say it's the sort of player we would be going for, I think. But considering the crap we have bought...
Yeah. No, all I'm saying, with that question, I am not throwing any sort of negative spin on it, by the way, at all. That wasn't my intention. I am genuinely interested.
No, I'm just answering your question.
Yeah,
I'm just answering your question.
No, just in case anyone in the chat thought fucking else negative.
I mean, I rate him as a good player. I don't rate him as an excellent player or nothing, but I think you can also see on him that he's got a lot of potential to become a significantly better player. And I don't even think we have a good player on the wings. We don't.
No, you're right.
The closest.
Yeah, you know what?
Player. Go on, Dave.
We brought him at 24th, you know, so he's coming into that sort of start of his prime period. He's had a couple of seasons in the Prem, a couple of seasons at Ajax playing Champions League and that. So we're getting a player that's ready to be in his prime, ready to go. You know, okay, on the downside, we brought him from a relegation sort of battling side. Big up West Ham. But he improves what we got, I think, is what I'm trying to take out of this. I'm not massively excited by it. I don't think he's amazingly brilliant. He scored and assisted 8 goals in 30 games. And behind Jared Bowen, he's their main creative force at West Ham. I know they had a bad season, but he's obviously partly responsible for that bad season, right? We got Brennan Johnson, who stats-wise has got double the goals alone that he's got. I don't want to go into the Brennan Johnson because you know how I feel about him. But I'm just saying his contribution last season wasn't amazing. So if we get Kudus from his first season in the Prem, and he improves on that, then I think £55 million will prove to be a good signing for us. And not only that, Dan, I touched on behind the scenes with you before we come on. People are talking about him as a winger. There's an argument that he's actually better in the centre as well. So we're actually getting a versatile player that can play across that front three behind the striker, and play a little bit more centrally, a bit deeper as well. I know that's a little bit risky because his defensive game's not amazing, but what I'm saying is he's not just an out-and-out winger, and that's all he does. He can actually be a bit
last
more
season,
versatile.
Dave. He went on the left, he went on the right, he went up front, and he played as a number 10.
Yeah, I think Thomas Frank has signed him as a right-sided forward. I think that's what Thomas Frank, and that's again another positive for me, because I think that's what the conversation would have been with Thomas Frank when we signed him. Who do you want to get? I like Kudus. Levy probably went, yeah, I actually like him as well. It probably works for both of us, but I reckon Thomas Frank had a bit of input on this one, and he sees him probably being his Brian and Buemo for Tottenham. There's sort of similarities there. But as I say, I also think he can play centrally, and I think that's a positive as well. So we've got a bit of versatility with him. He's not just coming in to play on that right. But I do want to see more than what I saw last season from him. And I don't want to see what I saw last season, where if the going gets tough, he goes disappearing. You know, he kind of forgets about the team and does his own thing. If you do like a bet, by the way, having to have 3 or 4 shots per game, not necessarily on target, but let's just say he's going to have 3 or 4 shots per game because he loves to pick the ball up and have a whack, which I'm actually not against. I think sometimes we've been accused of being a bit tippy-tappy around that front third.
Very much. It's not a bad thing.
Exactly. Even though Thomas Frank actually, if you look at his stats, he doesn't actually have many shots from distance with his teams. But I'm just saying it adds a little bit of a different dimension to what we've got. So that's the positive. Overall, I'm happy, but I just think it comes with a couple of caveats with him. And we need a couple more signings before I'm happy with our transfer window.
No, that bit I totally agree with. I mean, for me, I say it's a good start. We already got Danzo and Tell, yeah, but everyone knew Danzo was coming in, and I think a majority of people, whether they liked it or not, knew Tell was going to turn up as well. I mean, for me, them deals were basically done before Frank even had a say in the matter and even got here. Tell, I think, we wanted to sign him in January, but he wasn't sure whether he wanted to come to us. So a deal was basically done if the player wanted to stay here. I mean, others have said other things, that he had to play a certain amount of games or whatever, but if he would have still said no to it in the end, and I think he played the time for us, realised he wasn't going to get games at Bayern Munich because he wasn't good enough for that, but he will get game time at Spurs, which he needs to kick his career in, basically, because he is, 21, if I remember right. And yeah, he had the 6 months with us and decided he would sign the contract with us. I think that's what happened there. Whether it's right or wrong, that's just what I think. And when you saw them two there, I mean, Danzo, I was actually quite happy with. I think he's quite a versatile defender. I think he's definitely got a more level head than what we've got there. And I reckon he's more of a consistent player as well. And that is what I like about him. He's also solid in the air and got a bit of muscle on him as well. So with this one, I would say this is more the proper start of the transfer window. I mean, I know we've had our other 5 million signing here and there, but I can't complain about it. It's a good start, but we do need more players. We do need, I mean, for me, to make this a solid window, we need at least another 2 players that get into that first team. I mean,
if you had to pick 2 positions, like for me, I don't know if anyone else is, but I'm really worried about our left wing. If Kudus has been signed for our right wing, not only does that put our top scorer out of commission, but that leaves us with nothing really and truly on the left. So if you ask me, I pray that we get a left winger and a number 6. Where would you boys target?
Well, just before I answer that specific question, Ben, I've got this weird little feeling Brennan Johnson might start playing a bit more centrally next season as that kind of false 9.
Yeah.
Or, even as a striker, he's very good at putting the ball in the back of the net, not very good on the wing doing the dribbling and the crossing and the passing. So I can just see
Wales, doesn't he?
That's the other thing as well. He plays as the centre forward for Wales, not an old-fashioned centre forward, but he basically plays the furthest forward centrally. So I can sort of see that happening next season. So it'd be interesting because obviously Thomas Frank is brand new, and the good thing about Thomas Frank is he doesn't play one set way. So, it'll be horses for courses. We'll play 4-3-3, 4-2-4-1, 4-2-4-1, 4-2-3-1, and sometimes 3 at the back, which I'm looking forward to next season, being more flexible. But to answer your question, I know this is the first time I've been on with you, Ben, but I had a big debate last season about whether it was Ange, whether it was our players that let us down. I seriously think our squad was about 17, 18 players away from where we need to be. So if you're asking me what 1 or 2, I'd sit there and say I need 8 or 9. There's a lot of players there I'd get rid of. But if you ask me what the priority is, it's definitely a number 6. Definitely a number 6 is next, and ideally a top striker. But I can't see us going for a striker with.
I don't think we'll go for a striker.
Somebody a minute ago,
Listen,
I don't rate this guy, but somebody a minute ago, again, I apologise, I didn't see who it was. Dusan Vlahovic is supposedly available.
Yeah, I'll go to that one after. I've got that written down. I'll go to that after. That's all right. I mean, what you're saying, Dave, is true. There's a significant amount of players we want to get in there if we want to get Champions League standards, yeah? But I think the other situation is at the moment, it's actually working out how Frankie's going to play. I mean, I was wondering if he was going to play 3 at the back or play 5 at the back. Some would say play a 3-5-2 or 3-4-1-2 or 3-4-2-1. By the look of it with this one, for me, he's either going for a 4-3-3 or he's going for a 4-2-3-1. And if we're doing that, I think we definitely need a midfield boss, basically. If we're going to do 3 in midfield, then I think one of them will definitely end up as a DM. But if he's playing 3 at the back, do you even need an out-and-out DM for that? I don't think so. That's what the central one usually covers. So for me, I still don't know what formation he's going to use. But at the moment, to me, it's looking like a 4-3-3 or a 4-2-3-1. And I would definitely say if it's not an out-and-out 6 we get that I want that centre mid who doesn't have to be the most skillful bloke there, but works like an horse, takes control when he gets it, gets rid of the ball when he gets it, does all the dirty work, which is something we have not got as a player at the moment. I mean, someone would say like Henderson at Liverpool, yeah? Not rated the best of players and everything, but one thing you can't say is he worked hard, he was an excellent captain, got the ball, got rid of it, and just did the dirty work and didn't really get the credit he deserved, in my opinion. If we're going to go for more of a 6 side, then we need someone more like a Wanyama sort of thing, more of an anchor man there who's just going to get it and distribute it, basically. But we definitely need that boss in centre mid because I don't think we really have a significant player there who can control a game, basically. I think
there's play at 7 out of 10 for 38 games in the league and another 12, 13 in the cups, right? We don't have that. I think our central midfielders on their day are half decent, but they don't do it over a course of a season, do they, Dan?
No, and it's like another one who I do say, Bissouma, I think he gets a lot of stick because he hasn't been great since he's been with us, but I don't think we've actually had one manager that actually plays him to his potential. And literally 80% of mistakes he made was all defensive. He is not a defensive player. And I don't think he's got the capability of consistently running a midfield, but I think he's a better midfielder than what people give him credit for. But I can understand why he's been with us 3 years now, hasn't evolved as such. Some might say he's one that definitely needs to go. But we need that boss in midfield for me. We've got to get that boss. We've got a winger now. I don't think we're going to get anyone else up front because, I mean, where's Tell going to go? Where's others going to go? Johnson, I think you could see him up front if we played 2 up front. But I don't quite see the 2 up front anymore with the people we're getting in there. Because I don't see him playing a 3-5-2 or a 3-4-2-1 or 3-4-1-2, whatever you want to say, and using Kudus as a right winger as such. I see him using him as more of a further up the top winger, basically. One who's already up there, instead of just playing an out-and-out right wing. I mean, how many teams do actually use that now, you know? And I think, again, with Kudus, I think he'll be very good at cutting in with Porro overlapping him because I think Frank will use the players to what they're actually good at because he can actually read a bloody game and understand how players need to play. But yeah, for me, the next ones have got to be a 6 or someone who controls midfield. And then I think we've got a good option of places where we could do with a player. I mean, could we do with another wing back? Could we do? Do you know what? With what we've out and out got, bollocks. I'll go for we need 2 centre midfielders. Give me a choice. I'll take 2 centre midfielders. One who can control the game, boss the game, tackle it up, sit back and do the dirty work. The other one who can be a bit more of a deep line playmaker in the middle. I think there's a few of the midfield I'd just say, right, get rid of them, start again. Now we've got that. I think I'd go for 2 centre mids personally. And that all depends on whether Romero goes or not.
Something actually came out about Romero today. So apparently Atletico have not submitted any form of formal bid. So I'm starting to think he's going to stay put, to be honest. But why would you say that based on whether or not Romero gets sold? Because it's not like we don't have a lot of money, but so why would you sort of say if he goes? Do you genuinely think he may go this transfer window?
Dave?
It was looking likely, right? And there's 2 ways of looking at this. And me personally, I would drive him to the airport myself. I've got no time for Romero. And he's massively overrated in his fan base. But I would look at it 2 ways. One is contract. We're not a club that usually lets people run down their contract. We've done it with Harry Kane to a certain level, but then we sold him with a year left, right? So I can see him from a club perspective. If he doesn't commit, which doesn't look likely for another few years, then I see us selling him to get our money back on him. And the other one is Romero's personal ambition himself. And this is the one I don't really disagree with him on, because ultimately, if he's looked how this club's been run since he's been here and the clubs that have been sniffing around him and the things he's won at country level, then I don't blame him for looking up and going, I can play for a better club than this. So there's 2 reasons why I think he might go: his personal ambition and the fact that we might want to cash in on him. And I personally wouldn't be too sad to see him go. I've got some things about him that I absolutely love. He does some mad stuff for a centre defender, and when it comes off, it looks really, really good. But a lot of the time, he's unreliable. And I know Dan's touched on this before, that Dan will give you 7 out of 10 every week as a centre back, whereas Romero will sometimes give you a 9 out of 10, and then next week he's a 5 out of 10. So I don't know if you was touching on this, Dan, but if we get rid of Romero and we've placed him with 1 defender, then that's probably answering the question about whether Frank will go 4 at the back or 3 centre backs. I was going to mention if we go and our next signings are centre backs, then it could be an argument that we're going 3 at the back this season. But obviously, if Romero goes, we need that extra one as well. But yeah, I can see Romero going, to sum up that.
I mean, if we sold Romero, I know who I'd be going for. And it would be a gamble, but I think he's capable of doing. But it would cost us a little bit of money. I think a lot of people know my opinion on it. I'd take Milinkovic out of Nottingham Forest all day long. I was talking about him from the day he was at Fiorentina. I mean, I think everybody knows by now the Italian league, Serie A, is my second one that I watch with my other team, Inter. And how no one else had already gone for Milinkovic and how Nottingham Forest got him that cheap was absolutely criminal, because I was shouting out on shows that he's one we should be going for. And with the way I've seen Frank play with 3 at the back and 4 at the back, I think Milinkovic will work in that perfect. And for me, I think he's a better player than Romero. If you want a ball-playing defender, then obviously Romero's got positive, superior attributes to him. But if you just want an out-and-out defender, cool, calm, calculated, bosses the defence, tackles with good tackles, not stupid tackles, has consistency to him, solid in the air, and that, I personally think Milinkovic is a better player overall for the way I would personally play football. And I think consistency comes into this, is one of my biggest problems with Romero. On his day, he has world-class performances. It's just, for me, he doesn't have enough days. So with that one, I think the fact if we get another defender does really come down to if Romero goes. I mean, Ben?
I mean, that's fair. And again, you know my thoughts. I'm a bit surprised at Dave's opinion. I mean, I get it, I do, but I just think with Romero, 3 finals, 3 wins, 3 man of the matches, the guy's a winner. I know he's had inconsistency issues, but yeah, I don't know. I personally, I wouldn't let him leave. I really do not think Levy's going to let him leave. I think Levy will try and trap him into another contract, if I'm honest. I have read a few places that Frank really wants to keep him at the club, and I don't know. But yeah,
If Levy can get him to sign a contract, he'll stay long term. But if he says no to that new contract, that's what I'm saying. That's when I think he'll get rid of him. It'll come down to whether he wants to sign or not.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I mean, I'm a big fan of Romero, and again, I am aware of his inconsistencies. I know he's not, great at times, but I just think you need winners in your squad, and I don't think anyone can really deny it that Cootie is just good night, mate. I love you. Cootie is just an out-and-out winner, really. So I'm so sorry about that. It's a little tweak flexing. What's wrong with him? Yeah, I just think Cootie's an out-and-out winner, and I would say try and keep him at all costs, but again, that's just my opinion.
I agree. He is a winner and he's won things, but he's just too inconsistent for me.
Yeah, I get it.
And I also think he's got enough attitude on him to try and push for something to happen, basically. Like, Levy, if you don't sell me, I will become a pain in the arse and a parasite in the changing rooms, basically. I do think he is that sort of person, which I'm not saying is necessarily a bad thing, because sometimes...
No, I quite like that about him.
Yes,
he's honest and open.
Yeah, I was just about to say that really and truly shows the level of ambition, I mean, like I said before, Kane left because of lack of ambition from Tottenham. And Cootie is, as we've said, a winner. And I think, again, a lot of his inconsistencies have been down to frustration at the club. Because as Danny Rose said all them years ago, half the time when we make signings, you're having to Google them up because you've got no idea who we're signing. So, yeah, no, I do agree with you that it's not a terrible thing necessarily. But, I just pray that we keep him. I feel like we need to keep him.
I'm not going to complain if we keep him, but I'm not going to complain if we get rid of him personally in that aspect.
He's got 2 years left on his contract.
Yes.
So we won't let it run down. So it's either his last year, he signs a new contract, or we sell him. I know they're obviously the free options anyway, but I reckon if he doesn't look like he's going to extend, we'll cash in on him if we can get a replacement. And I reckon that replacement might be the... what's his name? Nathan Collins from Brentford, who I think is actually a decent defender, but obviously he's not as sexy as Romero, is he?
Is it just the looks?
That's what I mean. Yes, when they say about Sam Allardyce being manager, Sam Allardyce would get more jobs, right? Nathan Collins, despite being a good Premier League level defender, won't get the fans' pulses racing as much as having Christian Romero in the team. But he might do an arguably better job for us over 50 games in a season, right?
I get where you're coming from. I mean, one bit that keeps going through the news at the moment, Juventus with Vlahovic, where he won't sign up and he's made it clear he wants to go. They obviously want the money on him. They're looking at selling him, and the rumours going about like it's 15 million euros basically. And I think the problem we'll have with him is he's meant to be on nearly 300 grand. And that's a lot of money. That's not what Spurs pay. So, what do you think of the chance of going for him? And do you think he's an ideal one to go for? Because I've seen him play in Italy a lot. And he's been all right at Juventus. I don't think he's lived up to the standards that he could have lived up to with the potential that he was having at Fiorentina. I mean, he's had a couple of injuries. But I think for 15 million, if we can get his wages down to 200, if he's willing to, pay him an extra 5 million in the bank for a signing on fee as such, because we know that's what people do sometimes to bring the wages down. Do either of you two think he's worth going for? I do wonder if he's got the capability for the Premier League. And what I mean by that is it's a lot faster, a lot more physical than the Italian League. The Italian League, you get a couple of seconds to have a look about when you've got the ball at your feet, whereas the Premier League, you don't. And I do wonder if he can deal with that. But for 15 million, if we can get his wages down to 200 grand, I think personally I'd snap him up and give him a go over Solanke all day long. And I'll come on to the next bit in a minute with players we want to go. But what do you two reckon on that one?
I don't want him anywhere near my club, but I'm in that kind of mood tonight. So, do you remember a couple of years ago when we tried signing him and what he said about us, or why he would never sign for us? I can't remember if it was under Mourinho or Conte, but it was obviously a couple of years ago when we was sniffing around him, and he turned us down then. And it's a bit like, going for that bird that you fancy for years, and then she's gone out with someone else who she thinks better. He treats her badly, and then she's like, "Oh, you seem nice after all." And you get with her, and then in the back of her mind, she's always thinking about that sort of bad boy that she got with first, right? She's never really interested in you. And I think that's what it'll be. That'll be with Vlahovic. And considering I've just said about Kudus that he switches off if things don't go his way, Vlahovic is that times two. And you imagine having them two, quality-wise, absolutely amazing. I think we'd do some decent damage. But if things don't go right for us, we've got two players there that the other 9 have got to carry every week. And as you say, the wages, Dan, I can't see it happening purely for that financial reason. I think he's on close to 300 grand a week. Was it somewhere between 2 and 3?
I'll check that up.
No, it is 300 grand. It is 300 grand.
Oh,
yeah, and
300,000 euros, isn't it? So that's about 275, I'd say, give or take a 5 grand. I'd say it's about.
We'll give him
5 grand.
We'll offer 80 grand a week and vouchers to Chesington or something. He's not coming to us.
I mean, can I just shadow what Dave said there? Look, I wouldn't touch that guy over 10-foot fucking barge pole. He's I've watched plenty of Serie A. I do also enjoy that league. He's slow. His touch is fucking terrible. I think he's a slightly taller version of Richarlison. What was he, 6'2", I think, Vlahovic, or is he 6'4"? He's not small.
He's
6'3".
He's not, but he's too slow. And another thing, look,
he's got a bit of build on him as well.
He does. But let's just bring this up a little minute. How does he go from? Now, I'm pretty sure Juventus signed him for big bucks. I'm sure they did. I could be wrong, but I'm sure they signed him for big bucks. And he's supposed to be was supposed to be the next big thing. They let him go for 15 million. Why? I think with a player like that, you'd have to do your due diligence before you.
With Italy, it's the money in Italy at the moment. If anything, they want him to the wages because he won't sign it. Mate, Italy and the rest of Europe is up shit street. Now you will see a couple of transfers happen out there, but they are up shit street, same as the rest of Europe. The only league that is not in trouble, basically, the economy is not falling apart, is the Premier League. It's the only one. You look at the Spanish league, it's really not doing well for itself at the moment compared to the extent that it has done over the years, money-wise sort of thing. But they can still attract the best players, Real Madrid and that, but they don't seem to pay quite what they used to. And Barcelona definitely can't bloody do it, and no other team out there can spend the sort of money that certain teams in the Premier League can spend. The Italian league, since the end of last season, Inter Milan are up shit street, so are quite a few others. About one of the only safe ones out there as such is Juventus, but they need to get things level as well. Practically every league in Europe at the moment, the economy is up shit street. Except the Premier League.
With the Spanish league, don't they do things slightly different? Isn't every transfer, and again, I could be really wrong here, it might just be Real Madrid and Barca, aren't transfers done via the bank and loans constantly? I heard something years ago that the way Barca and Real do it, it's all bank loans. Is that? Have you got any information on that?
That's what it is most of the time, anyway.
Really?
With a lot of things.
Yeah. Real Madrid. I don't know the ins and outs of the technical way, but the simple way of looking at it, Real means royal. So they're from Madrid, and their state government kind of has a say in Real Madrid. So they will bankroll certain loans to them based on the fact that that's their club. Similar to Barcelona from Catalonia, which is a different region, and their state government,
which technically isn't even Spain, is it? They're actually out
No,
of Spain, didn't they?
they want to be independent, but they're what's called like semi-autonomous or whatever. So their government is local to them, whilst they are part of Spain. They've got their own local government, and they kind of pump money in, or they'll sit there and say, "Oh, can we borrow off of you and pay you back at a ridiculously low interest rate?" That sort of thing. And I also think some of their trouble in Real Madrid and Barcelona, I think more Barcelona, is they've sold all their future TV rights for the next 20 years or something and secured loans against that money coming in.
Okay.
So I think that's why they've got themselves in up shit creek. Again, there's specific technicalities around it, but I think that's sort of the simplest way of trying to answer that. But yeah, I think with Vlahovic, going back to him, I think it was Scotty put it in the chat. They've obviously signed that Jonathan David, and they want to bring Kolo Muani back as well, he was saying. So obviously that's why they're getting rid of him. And it's not exactly worked out for him as well as it did previously. I think he got something like one goal in 3 games, whereas before he was like kind of 1 in 2. And again, going back to his attitude, I don't think he's a sort of acted that well at Juventus, shall we say. I don't think they're very enamoured by him.
Do you think he'd be the sort of player that would come to us and sort of think he's bigger than the club?
Yes.
I don't have enough information to answer. All I know is 15 million for a player that they spent a lot of money on, and the world made a big, to do about it. Something's not right there, mate. Not for 15 million.
It's a lot of it does come down to the wages, isn't it? I mean, we do need to be looking at more players there. I mean, for 15 million, he's one that I would personally be willing to take a gamble on it. I mean, because some of the other things we've taken a gamble on, you just look at it and you just think hit and hope is a fucking understatement. Whereas with him, I think you've got more chance of getting something out of it. But I do get I get what other people say. You want a player that's got some attitude on him, that's got a bit of aggression on him, that thinks
Romero style,
a lot of himself, sort of thing. But you don't want a player at the club who thinks he's bigger than the bloody club. That won't do nobody no favours. I mean, if you want to talk about bad attitudes on a player I wouldn't touch with a barge pole, even if he was bloody free, is Rashford. Can't stand him.
Really? Why?
Because the closest I'll touch him with a barge pole is round the back or something. And he's a player that I just don't like his attitude, basically. The fact that he even thinks he's bigger than the biggest club in the world. That's the sort of attitude I don't want in a player. The one that rings up and says, I'm too ill to go to work, and then gets caught up going on a piss up the night before. I don't think that's the sort of player you want there. But, I mean, the other one there's a lot of word going on about as well is Douglas Luiz. I mean, he's one I wouldn't necessarily say no to either, especially going to getting him on a loan, see how it goes and take it from there. I think Juventus would be willing to go for that.
Yeah, I think that's a sensible bit of business there. He's Prem proven. He's still quite, got a good few years in him. He's not like 31, is he? He's mid to late 20s without checking. 27. Exactly, so perfect age. And where he's had the season or two in the Prem with Villa, we know that he can come in and handle himself with that. And I think that makes sense, Dan. That's a sensible signing that, okay, we need 5 or 6 players, then we can't sit there and spend 50, 60, 70 mil on those 5, 6 players. So getting Douglas Luiz on a year loan with an option to buy it is proper, sensible squad management. Vlahovic isn't, because he'll come in on more money than what's there, and everyone that is there will get upset because he's on more money than they are, doing less running. That's the way I see it. But we do need better than what we got up front. I've seen that a couple of times in the chat. Vlahovic, quality-wise, he's better than, say, Solanke. I probably wouldn't have too many arguments with that, but over a course of the season, who's going to do better for your team?
There's not a lot you can argue with that one either, because honestly, I don't rate Solanke too well. But I think he will.
You know what? I without changing the subject too much, Dan, I'm expecting quite a big season from Solanke this year. I think we'll see more goals.
Yes.
Go on. Why? Give us your reasons why. That's a fair comment if that's what you think.
Do you know what? We absolutely flogged him last season in terms of him being a workhorse up front. There's one thing you can't ever go with Solanke about. The amount of work and effort he puts in is ridiculous for a striker, especially in this modern day and age. And I always had a different impression about Solanke before he signed, and that totally changed in terms of his teamwork and his work ethic. But I've got a friend who's actually a Bournemouth fan, which is quite rare. And he was adamant this Solanke will come good, and I was adamant that he's not good enough for us. But I think played the right way, and that's putting balls in the box, by the way. It's a very simple process. Put balls in the box for him to get on the end of. I think he gets us goals, rather than making him run down the left channel, the right channel, coming back and defend from the front all the time. I think if we say, yes, still press, still work hard, but get yourself in that penalty box more often, we're going to put crosses in the box for you, I think we'll get more goals out of him. Very simply put. That's partly because he didn't get many goals before as well, right? So it shouldn't be too hard to get more goals than what he's got.
But I've said as well, Dave, and I agree with you on that, is I do think you will see better out of him this year.
That's what I mean, better, yeah.
I think there's a lot of players there that it's going to be hard for them to be much worse than they were last season. And a lot of that is down to the tactics. And Mike, how you doing, mate? He's just saying... the price is so low because if they don't sell him now, they will lose him on a free. Yep, I agree, in a year. And have a rebel in the squad causing issues. Better 15 million apiece than nothing. Mike, if you check your WhatsApp, I've also sent you a link if you want to jump on, mate. It's there if you want to. If you don't, fair play. I mean, Douglas, going back to Douglas Luiz, he's one who I think is a bit of a no-brainer to take up because I think he's better for what we'd want to use him for than anything we've actually got. I think he walks into that first team, basically.
Do you not question him at all? Look, listen, right, I'm going to be really honest, and this might just be me. I never really truly rated Douglas Luiz. I mean, he had that season before he left. It was pretty decent, but he's another one that I think, he had a big reputation going over to Juve. Again, why are they selling him? Because you don't really hear much about him over there at all. In fact, to be fair, I think there was talks about him leaving at the start of this season, just gone.
He hasn't settled down there, Ben. He hasn't settled down, basically. Honestly, he hasn't done well there. But then neither's Paulina, however you pronounce his fucking name.
Paulina,
Bayern Munich. He didn't settle down very well there, and he hasn't got much match time there and whatever else, has he?
I just find that really strange. How can you go from doing quite well in the Premier League to then struggling in Serie A? I really struggle to understand.
It's a total different league, and like I say, I watch a lot of it, and I would say Serie A is probably the most tactical league in football. When it comes to out-and-out tactics, Serie A is the most tactical one. I'd say Spanish league is the fastest and most skillful. I'd say the Premier League is just a bit of anything and everything, and it's got the whole lot, basically, and definitely more physical. I'd say the closest to physicality to our league is probably the German league. And French league, I think you see a bit of speed and skill in it, but not compared to the Spanish league. I just think the Premier League, where it's got a bit of everything in it, it's definitely got the wear and tear. But Douglas Luiz, I don't know, it just didn't work for him at Juventus, basically. Same as Paulinho, it didn't work for him at Bayern Munich.
Can I ask you a very quick question then? So obviously, Mad Murdoch just said about Bissouma being a swap deal. Now, I did read a few times over the last few weeks that Juve are interested in Bissouma. So my question to you would be, in fact, to all of you, would you happily swap Bissouma for Douglas Luiz?
Okay, I'll go with that one in a sec. Luke, how you doing, mate? All good?
All good, mate. All good. How are you?
Oh, I'm fine, mate. I won't say same Spurs, different day, because we actually got a decent signing. With a question Ben just gave. Go first on it, mate. Go for it.
It's a tough one, isn't it? Because all season I was like, he just has to go. And then he pulls out a few good performances. You get a new manager in, and you think, maybe can we get that Bissouma that we thought we were signing? I was one of the ones jumping up and down. So I think I'm going to have to sort of trust Frank on this, basically, and say, if he thinks he can get a tune out of him, I think both him and Bentancur have only got a year or two left. So it's kind of large chance to loan. But as you said, tactically, I think is where he's been. That's where his issues have been. I mean, he didn't work under Conte. He didn't work under Ange. And you could argue that both of them are extremes at complete different ends of the scale. But you would have thought that he would have found a home in one of them. So it's a tough one. I think I'd like Luiz. I think Luiz would be a good player for us.
I can go with that as well. I mean, the thing is with Bissouma, like I said earlier, is literally every manager he's had has wanted him to play in a more defensive role than an attacking role, and he ain't a fucking defender. 80%, I would say. Okay, some would say if we gave it out, 79%. The one I would just get, I'd say about 80% of the severe mistakes he made during the game was all in a defensive manner.
Mm-hmm.
He's just not a defensive box-to-box. He's that box-to-box who just comes back a little bit, gets the ball, charges forward, direct ball, left, forward, right. Go on. Whose alarm's that?
Is that us? That car?
Someone's car alarm going off.
I think, do you know what? I think it's me.
Is that your car alarm?
No, it's not my car. It's the window's open. 1 sec.
Daniel Levy's his wallet's opened. Set the alarm off.
You're not wrong.
Yeah, and like I said with Bissouma, it's basically down to the fact it's just the way we played him, like a lot of our players. I mean, Luke, like I said, he's one who just gets the ball, charges forward, and then a direct ball left, right, or centre comes back on himself. He is not a defensive player in any sort of way. But I can also understand why anyone would want the back of him, basically, because he's, like you said, it just ain't worked for him with the managers he has had. And I just think Douglas Luiz would be a sensible signing, especially getting him on loan. And I think for what we're playing for, he's superior to anyone we've got for the style that we'd want to play.
Paul's just put in a chat, Luiz is a massive upgrade on Biss. He is on the bad Biss, but if you get the best Biss, if you get the best one, the one that dominated us when he was at Brighton in multiple games, dominated some of the best teams around, then Douglas Luiz is not a massive upgrade on that Biss. But it's what Biss you get. That's what I think.
I think you made a good point, Luke, as well. And again, it's hard for us, talking about Spurs as fans, right? That you made a very good point. It depends what Thomas Frank wants. We have got a new manager in, and this new manager could see things completely different to the previous one. We're going on what's happened in the last couple of years, and Bissouma's not been consistent enough over the last 3 years to warrant keeping him, right? If we can get better or different, then let's go for that. But Thomas Frank might see something and go, actually, that's how you get the best out of Biss, and he could turn into the Biss that we kind of know is in there somewhere. I struggle with his mental capabilities because he does some daft things on the football pitch at times. So you think, what are you doing? But ability-wise, he's got the ability. In fact, he's probably one of the most technically able in our squad. Especially in that tight spaces, controlling it. Yeah, exactly. It's just he's up there. I'm trying to be polite with how I word this, but he's lacking something.
Hanging out the window, getting geared up and dribbling doesn't do you no favours, does it? Especially when you get caught on camera. That definitely didn't do no favours, did it? But we all know that, let's just say there's one ball every minute, and he definitely did himself no favours there, did he? I mean, just quick question for you, Luke. I mean, it goes back to what I said at the start, but you ain't said your bit. Kudus, you happy?
Again, I'm from East London, mate, so a lot of the fan base around me are West Ham, and they're very split. They're very split. And I don't mean about the hatred for Spurs. I mean, half of them are going, I'm so glad he's gone, and half are going, absolutely, he's going to turn out to be a baller. So going off of what they're saying, it's very similar to what I just said about Biss. If we get the best of him, we're getting an absolute top player. But if we get the worst of him, then is it another £60 million where we've gone, what have we done there? I think Frank will do well with him. I think Frank's got a good enough system. I think on the right-hand side, he sees Mbuemo essentially, isn't it? Coming inside on the left, he's got pace, he's got power, and hopefully around better players he'll improve. But I'm not as sold as I was on Eze, I'll be honest.
No, Eze was my first choice as well, and then I'd have took Mbuemo, and then Kudus would have been my third choice in that aspect. Mm-hmm. But he definitely seems like a more solid, worth 55 million than, say, Richarlison, Solanke, Johnson at 45, 50. Okay, he got his 20 goals, but I still think he's a terrible player. Wasting money on Archie Gray for 40 million, Odebert for 30 million. He actually seems like a player we've got there who's, you can actually say it's a fair price we paid.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I didn't like the price initially. I didn't like it initially when they was talking 75, 85 million. No. I was like, absolutely not. But for that price, it's the kind of going rate for a Premier League winger at the moment, isn't it? Everyone seems to be There was a stage where everyone was 30, then they all went up to 40, and now it's 50 to 60 million is a standard Premier League player now. So, yeah, not completely against it at all. I just hope that Frank's been able to do his diligence, check out his profile, and make sure that, as that famous line goes, no dickheads.
Well, then he's definitely got a few to get rid of, isn't he? I mean,
the
other bit I'll go to, we've got. I mean, to get more players in, we've got to get rid of players. There's players there that has got to go, basically, yeah? And that's not just to get the excess money in, I don't think. That's just because we need some space in that team. I mean, up front on the left and right, even though we've only got, 2 wingers there now, as in Kudus and Solomon, I mean, because the rest of them ain't even wingers. I think there's a significant amount of players that need to go and a few others that need to go on loan. I mean, Dave, I'll go with you first. I mean, we're all going to have to go through this because I'm sure we're all going to miss one or two. Who's got to go? And how much
you're arguing a couple of them. You're arguing a couple of them aren't wingers. I'd argue a couple of them ain't footballers. But numbers-wise, we've got a lot of players that can play out wide or in attacking positions. So we touched on it earlier when we said what positions would we buy. Ideally, I'd like another proper number 9 in there, but I don't realistically see us with our squad management going for one this term or this window. We also need to bear in mind for our Champions League squad, we need more English players in there. Now, that's not a racist thing or a nationalistic thing. That's purely the rules dictate we need some homegrown players in that squad. So we need to look at that position as well. Someone mentioned Hayden Hackney in the chat as well. I think that's a positive shout for a young defensive sort of deep line playmaking midfielder. But attacking wise, Dan, we've got to clear out some. So I think Frank's going to leave that till a little bit later on in the window. So I don't expect too much movement out from the likes of Solomons, the Gills of the world. I think a few of them will go, but I think Frank wants them in, see their profile, like personality wise. Obviously, he probably knows how good they are football wise. But I think Brian Hill was someone he was looking at prior when he was at Brentford as well. So I think he just wants to get them in, see what they're like, and decide out of those bad ones, which ones he can work with and make better. The others will go. What was the other part of your question, Dan, there? Because I've just rambled on a bit. I got distracted by the Hayden Hackney midfielder one. It's
players that definitely need to go and how much we get for them. I mean, for me, Gill's got to go, Solomon's got to go, Richarlison, Bissouma, I can understand. For me, we need to see the back of Son now. And then there's probably other midfielders you can say there. Would I say no to Bentancur going? I don't think he's been stable enough for the past 2 years. I think injury has had a lot to do with that. And do you know what? We go and sell Sarr, I wouldn't complain either, but we'd obviously need players to come in for that midfield. But I think there's a couple of players there that definitely need to go. And I think Gill, Solomon, Richarlison, Son, Bissouma are definitely some of the main ones that need to go.
Yep, and obviously the likes of Ben Davis.
Yeah, well, he's just signed another year, and so he's with us.
Yeah, to be fair, he'll do a job coming off the bench in a League Cup third round against Hartlepool away, but for the Champions League and Premier League, he's not good enough anymore. But that also brings me around to the other point, Dan. We need another left back and we need another right back, whether they're wing backs or just full backs. We need extra players down there. So we can't just rely on Porro and Udogie. We need actual competition for those because they get a bit careless at times and they get a bit.
Well, we've got Spence. We've got Spence. He can cover both sides.
Yeah, sorry, but we still need competition there, right?
Yeah. 100%.
So definitely that left back.
I mean, Ben, who do you think we need to get rid of desperately? I mean, let's go on the prices of these. I mean, obviously you agree on Gill, yeah?
I mean, I think the obvious ones are your Gills. Mate, to be honest, I echo what you say. Richarlison, Son, as much as I love Son. I think he's Mr. Tottenham, but he needs to go. So Richarlison, Son, Bissouma. With Bissouma, I fully agree with what David said in himself. He's a great player on his day, but I put a lot of his issues down to laziness. Just going to throw that out there. I think he needs to go. We've got a couple of defenders I'm going to be really honest. So that new Japanese fella that we brought in, did any of you watch the intro video? Because if you did, he has the body frame of a 15-year-old schoolgirl. And he will get absolutely eaten alive in the Premier League. And I'm being told that he's supposed to be coming in to be integrated into the squad. And God, I hope that's not true. But players like him, who's that young English guy that we've got? He's about 21 years old. He went to, is it Ashley Phillips?
Oh, Phillips.
Ashley Phillips on loan.
Yeah, I don't know what we're doing with him. I've heard good things about him, but he needs to go back out on loan. I'm going to assume. I'm very excited about Vuskovic, but yeah, in terms of who needs to go, Dan, I'm very much with you boys. It's pretty much the same suspects. It's just whether or not we can get rid of them. So we'll have to see.
I mean, Luke, I take it you agree with pretty much what everyone said as well. I mean, how much money do you think we can get out of some of these getting rid of them?
Yeah, 100% I do, but I think another big part of it is about what system he's playing. If he's playing three at the back,
I agree. I do agree on that.
What we're going to do and what we're going to need is completely different. And kind of looping it back to what we were saying about Bissouma, if we was playing in like the Ange system, Bissouma doesn't have a place. Whereas in Frank's with the two in midfield, with having a bit more cover there, maybe I think it's Bissouma or Bentancur. I think one of them will go. I think the other one will stay. It looks like Bentancur might sign a new contract, but yeah, I kind of echo what all the guys are saying. To be honest with you, I think the one that I'm not sure whether Richie goes, and the reason I say that is because he works. If he can sort his availability out, I think Frank will like him. I think Frank likes having a big, powerful player who runs. He's going to work hard. And again, it's all about priorities. And I think that's going to be our problem, is that there's so many players that we say, Richie, is he actually going to go? Sonny, is he actually going to go? There's so many players in that squad where you go, actually, if you was playing Football Manager, you'd be like, let's get rid of them. But actually, are we going to be able to get rid of that many? Do you know what I mean? So, yes, it is a tough one. And then also you've got to factor in like some of the players that are injured are out till the like January time or whatever as well. So they're players that also need to be factored in. But yeah, I think in an ideal world, I think if you could get rid of Son and Richarlison. Obviously, we've just signed Tell, so he's staying. You presume Maddison stays. Solanke probably stays. I can't see anyone coming in for Johnson. So therefore, and then you've only got 3 or 4 more spaces in your squad where you kind of like, who are these all going to go to? And we've got so many players, we could end up having the same forward line as we did last year, and nobody wanted that. So,
I mean, yeah, I can agree. I mean, Richarlison for me is one I'd love to see the back of. I mean, he's just injured way too much. I mean, to the point that he's always busted. He might as well be sitting on the side of the pitch in a bloody wheelchair. The amount he's just always done his leg or his ankle or whatever in, he's always getting bloody injured. But then I think we've got a few players that have a habit of that. I mean, Maddison does like to get kicked about as well. I mean, for money-wise out of it, I mean, Son on the other aspect quickly, whoever goes and buys him, they'll make their money back on the day. I'd say money-making wise, he was the third best. The only two that could make money superior to him on their day was Ronaldo and Messi. I don't think there's a player out there at the moment who can make more money, bring more money into a club than Son. I mean, Mbappe definitely ain't going to do it. And someone name me a player that can. Because wherever Son goes, South Korea goes. So whoever buys him, I mean, Jews agree, they'd make their money back on the bloody day.
Oh, yeah.
I'd agree with that on its own. But I can't see Levy selling him for that very same reason. Do you know that episode of Only Fools and Horses where Rodney has not a flashback, a flash forward, and Damien's like 30 and he runs the world? Yeah. And he's in charge of like Rodney, and obviously Del Boy's really old. Uncle Albert's died, didn't he? But they keep him alive, his brain, in that sort of electrical contraption thing with the technology. I can see Daniel Levy doing something like that with Sonny just to keep the money coming when he's 45. Go on, Sonny, another season. We're still getting those ticket sales or shirt sales and that. So I can't see us selling him for that very reason, Dan. The very reason you will say he'll make money as a sale is the very same reason I can't see the club selling him.
Do you know what? I can agree with that because we know how Levy works. But whoever goes and gets Son, I think the league that would be best for him to actually, I say progress as a player, but to actually have the capability of bossing the league to an extent, Serie A suits him down to a T. Because even though his stamina's gone down and his pace has gone down, Serie A is a lot slower. And that is where you get quite a few of the older players go, and they go up a level again, basically. I think that would be the ideal place for him to go. So you don't reckon there's a chance that Son's going to go?
Not this window. He might go at the end of the season, but I can't see him going this season. If you ask me truthfully, it's not a personal opinion. I just don't see it happening.
No, fair enough. I mean, what do you two see on Son? Do you want to see him go, and do you think he can?
I mean, yeah, for the sake of his legacy, let him go. Let him go out on his shield. I mean, he's done so much for this club. You know, as I've said before, he really is Mr. Tottenham, and we all love him. I don't think there is a single Spurs fan that doesn't adore Son. But you know, his performances have dropped. There's no two ways to look at it, and it's really sad to see. I mean, especially considering that Mo Salah's just had the best season of his career, and he's a year older than Son. So I don't know how that works, but yeah, I think he's got to go. I think it's sad that he signed a new contract because it would have been nice to see him go on a free, you know, to wherever he wanted to go. There'd be so many clubs coming in for him. And like
you see what you say with Salah, though, Ben, quickly.
Yeah.
For me, that is why Son isn't and never ever was a world-class player. Salah is a world-class player. Son could never live up to Salah's standards. Are you telling me that Son has ever been on the same level as Salah?
I mean, they won the Golden Boot together. Yeah, I do. And if you look at their statistics, they're not too far apart. So, yeah, I really do. I'm not saying Son's better than Salah. Don't get it twisted. But I definitely believe Son in his prime was absolutely world class because every time you see fan channels, you know, pundits, you know, who would you take from Tottenham? It was always Son. It was always Son and obviously Harry Kane. So, yeah, I've got to disagree. I do feel in his prime, he's been absolutely world class. I mean, listen, the guy can't dribble to save his life. He doesn't know where he's going when he dribbles. He's not particularly good at passing, but his runs are world class. And his finishing, I believe
his finishing was world class. I agree.
I mean, the goals we've seen him score. So, with those two attributes alone, the runs and the finishing, I think that does make a player world class because if you have two major attributes that are world class, then I believe it deems you so. And the guy has always scored crazy amounts of goals. And like you know, look, as I said, he's not as good as Salah, but he certainly ain't too far off. But he does need to go. He needs to go for himself. You know, he like I said, he needs to go out on his shield. You know. I don't know if
that's a fair point, and there's some fair points. I can take them in. Don't have to agree with it, but I think you make some solid points there. I mean, Luke, what do you reckon on Son with him going? And also, basically, the question that I said there: do you think he was ever a world-class player on the same level as Salah?
I think the two big differences between the players is that physically Salah is very, very good with his hold-up play. You can see he's absolutely built solid. He's ripped as you can be. So I think that's been a big factor in him. The one thing I'll say about that debate is that Salah for quite a while now has had a team built around getting the best out of him, and we've never really done that with Son unless you go back to the year that he won the Golden Boot. Every other season it was more around getting Harry Kane the goals, and it actually turned out that when he won the Golden Boot it was get Harry Kane the assists and get them both involved. So I think if we was to have built a team around Son and just used him, then I think he would have reached even higher levels. And going back to the selling him, I actually think that's why it makes perfect sense to sell him now. Everyone's talked about how much money they can make, but he's on nearly 200 grand a week for another year. If you get 30 million pound for him or 20 million pound for him, and then you take off the wages that you'd pay him, it probably would counteract between the two, especially if we sell him after the tour, because his contract ends at the end of the season, he goes for nothing. So I think if a decent offer came in, they'd take it. I don't think they'd take 5 million or anything like that. But I think if someone came in and said it's 20, 25 million, I think he probably will go. But knowing what sort of Frank's like, I think Frank would just go to him and say, what do you think? Do you think you've got another season? Do you think you can, if you want to go, then don't tarnish your legacy now, because what a time to go at. He's been here 10 years. He's won the Europa League, and then he just bows out. Then, like, what a time to go. And
Absolutely.
Cruz went out at the top, won a Champions League, and was like, "That's it, I'm done now. I'm out." So
I agree. Perfect time for him to go, because I think a few people will already say. I mean, I was one of them saying that we should have sold him 2 years earlier. In my opinion, he should already be gone. Because I do have the attitude of it's a dog-eat-dog world, and I ain't sentimental with my players. I don't support Son, I don't support Kane, I don't support Romero, I support Tottenham. And I've got the attitude that as soon as a player starts going downhill or has reached his peak and starts coming down, baked potato, mate, he's got to go. But as Spurs, we do seem to be a very sentimental bunch here most of the time.
I think it's because we don't put succession plans in. That's the problem. Is that you look at the top, the top clubs,
So
and then if you was a Liverpool, a City, they would have had a 30-year-old Son, and they'd be going, right, who's the person taking over from him next year? Bring him in, give him a year, let him learn, and then off he's gone, and we bring him in. But we just don't bother. We just let it go on and on and on. I mean, I always say the same thing. We sold Gareth Bale, and we replaced him 10 years later with Gareth Bale. So that's how Tottenham does it. That's how we do it.
I mean, that is very true. I mean, I was one of the ones saying that he was getting a bit like Hugo Lloris in the aspect of done wonders for us, was really good for us. Again, another one who I never said was a world-class keeper, but a very good keeper. And sort of stayed past his time. And when you talk about him, you say how good he was, but we should have got rid of him 3 years earlier. And I think that was starting to stick on Kane's back a bit, because the problem is when there's mud there, it sticks. And people, not everyone, but people like me were starting to say, Son's been brilliant for us, but we should have got rid of him 2 years earlier. The fact that we've just won the Europa Cup with him, I think that basically takes the mud off his back a bit on the memory side, and now would be the ideal time to leave and not have no mud on your back. I think that Europa Cup's wiped the mud off his back, where you'd forget that he hasn't been at his best for the past 2 seasons, maybe. And you'd say time to go, and you'd just remember the good times with him.
I think Son with decent rest in a Frank system where the wingers are probably going to invert and be a little bit closer to the goal, I do think Son could offer something this season. And if he was 28, 29, I probably wouldn't be saying sell him. But my fear is that he's going to do what Lloris done. He's going to do what Eric Dyer done, what Ben Davies done. How many players do we keep for too long? And actually we'll sit there and not look back at him and be like, what an unbelievable player. I look back at some of the stats that this guy's got. He's in the top 20 for goals and assists in Premier League, not for Spurs, in the Premier League. The numbers that this guy has got is just absolutely ridiculous. And we're going to remember him stumbling when he's coming up against any fullback and kicking the ball at him and losing his foot in and slipping. So that's what my worry is. I just want him to kind of bail out now and be like, look, I've done what I said I'm going to do. See you later.
No, I can go with that.
He deserves it, doesn't he?
Yeah, I think that would definitely be the best. I think that would definitely be the best thing for him. I really do. And I know a lot of people still love him off and whatever and that, but honestly, I do think he is deteriorating as a player. I mean, would he be good for the subs bench? Like you said, keep him fit and don't necessarily play him every game or whatever. And hopefully Frank would play him in a superior way that would suit him, basically. And with that, would he work better as a sub player, basically? Bring him on with 30 minutes to go to put in a couple of goals?
I think so. I think he would suit that. I think that would be his perfect role for me. If you could bring, like, you've got like your Tells and people like that. If you had a youngster or you had someone who could come in and be the kind of main man, and he plays just a bit part role, I think that would be perfect for him. But again, I don't want it to get to a point where he's so ineffective that everybody remembers this last year and not the 250 goal contributions that he's given us.
And not the past 9-10 years he's been with us. It just wouldn't be fair on the fella in that aspect, would it? But it's who we are in that aspect. Dietrich, how you doing, mate?
Good, how are you? How's everyone doing?
Quite happy today, mate. I mean, seeing as you haven't answered it, and
Yeah.
you're in here and that, what's your opinion on the transfer today? You happy with that one?
Well, first of all, why as anyone should be mad at the transfer? He's our best forward right now, and honestly, that's what we were looking for: someone that can beat their man, not be scared of like the opposition, and he's arguably one of the best 1v1 players in the league, statistically.
Statistically, he's the best.
Yeah, he's the best. Sure, his output is not the best, but at the same time, anyone under Graham Potter did not play well in that West Ham team. So I don't think it's fair for him to judge. But if you look, he has Champions League experience with Ajax. He's still young. Honestly, we got him at the same price as freaking Brennan Johnson, and he's a more complete forward than him. So in my opinion, that's a good transfer, and he gets in our 11. That's the only thing I was asking. Get players that can get in the first team.
For me, he walks into that first 11 Patriots. I can't see any player we've got that's superior, and I think a lot of us have been saying that we want to buy players that get into that first 11, basically.
Yeah.
I mean, other thing. Go on.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying like it's a good transfer, gets into 11, and arguably, what's it called? Is he a nail-on starter for our team? Yeah, 100%. And that's what I wanted. I don't want it like an older burst, someone that we spend a lot of money, but we don't know his outputs. We don't know him as a player. And I'm happy with Levy for getting the transfer early before preseason, so I'll give him credit on that.
Well, we were all starting to think it was dragging on a bit, and then all of a sudden, bang, there you go, it happened. Because there were starting to be the rumours about that Chelsea was interested, we weren't offering the right money and everything, and then bang, it just happened out of nowhere, basically, to an extent, didn't it?
And especially with your rivals. Like, usually West Ham would love to drag it out, but they didn't have a choice, and honestly, fair play to Levy.
I mean,
I will caveat this with he's still got to pass his medical and sign the paperwork. By the way, just don't want to put the stickler in there, but
yeah, but usually that's just the minor part of it. Usually, isn't it? That's the bit that sort of you expect. I mean, how often do you hear of a player not being able to sign because of his medical? How often?
Last time Romero did not pass his medical because he was injured, and we still signed him. So medical doesn't mean anything. It just shows like, can the player stay with us for a long time? That's the only reason people do medicals.
Yeah, like serious, like if they've got a heart problem or stuff like that. Innit?
Yeah, that's it.
Well, John Beresford, do you remember him at Newcastle? The little left back, played right back as well, but made a left back. He failed his medical at Liverpool, and then Kevin Keegan phoned him up and said, "Don't worry about your medical at Newcastle. Come sign for me." And then obviously had a good career there. It's only because I was listening to a podcast the other night and he was on it. But yeah, people do fail their medicals and people do not sign because of their medicals. So we're only 99% signing him. They've still got to get over that line and dot the papers.
It happened to Danzo. Danzo was all dealt to go. I can't remember where it was, but they said he had a heart condition. And then he went and looked to all the top specialists in the world and they found out he never had a heart condition. It was an issue with whoever done the med, but there was literally a fouled transfer because of it, and it weren't even true. So, I'm
just trying to protect us five on here, just in case anything does happen. We don't sign him. It's like, you got egg on your face. We're aware that we haven't signed him yet. We're talking as if we are going to sign him.
We need to buck the trend of having an injured player anyway. Do you know what I mean? I go back for all the years: Darren Andertons, Jamie Redknapp's, Ledley Kings. Lamella's,
Richarlison's. I think Matt's very injury prone. Romero.
To be fair, he'll go in for his medical fully fit, come out of it injured with our medical team.
I don't want to go overboard. Yeah, sorry, I don't want to go overboard, but I think it's one of the best signings we got since Maddison and Romero, in my opinion. Like up there. Finally, that anyone can argue that's a good player, and nobody's going to say the opposite.
It's like I said earlier, Dietrich. It's like for the actual price of him and that, and the player he is, I think it's more than a respectable price we got him for, considering we spunk 40 million up the wall on Archie Gray, a player who had never even.
Richie was more expensive.
I know. I'm just going through him, sort of thing. I mean, with Gray, people know my attitude on that. A player that had never even played in superior football as such, and we spunk 40 million up the wall on him, and do 45 million on Johnson. But then some will say he did score 20 goals for us. We go and spend 65 for whatever it was on Solanke, 60 odd on Richarlison. What was it, 30 mil or whatever on Odegaard? He does actually seem like we actually got him for a more than respectable price.
Yeah. And I just saw we are linked to Wisa. If we get Wisa and Kudus, that's arguably an 8 out of 10 window.
I mean, that's the next one I'm going to go to after the other one I've said. I mean, for me, one I think we should definitely be looking at if he is at sale for the 40, 50 million is Harvey Elliot. Because personally, I think he walks into that midfield. So say we get Douglas Luiz on loan and we get Harvey Elliot next to him. I mean, personally, I'd say Harvey Elliot is superior to Bergvall, superior to Bentancur. I think he's better than Bissouma, better than Sarr without a doubt. And Archie Gray don't even get into the midfield. So unless there's anything. So I would take Harvey Elliot all day long. I don't know about you, Thor. What do you reckon?
I think Harvey Elliott is a good player, but in my opinion, I would take McAtee from Man City for 20 million. And he's cheaper and better, in my opinion.
Fair point.
With a high ceiling. I don't know. I know we don't like saying these words, but for 20 million, like that's the kind of gamble I want to see Spurs doing.
No, that's a fair point. I mean, what do you three reckon on the Harvey Elliott thing? On what I've said
I
there?
don't like him. I'm not saying he's not a good player, but he's an absolute. He's just a dickhead. That's the bottom line. He just is. So there's so much about him, the stuff he done about what he messaged about Harry Kane and things like that. He's just an idiot. And the other thing is, I'm not sure he actually fits in with Frank's sort of system. Frank likes to have the two centre midfielders be a little bit deeper, and I'm not sure he'd be able to do that. It might come in as the cam potentially, but we was all just speaking about how many options we've got in that forward line. So I'm not a fan. As I say, I think he'll go. I think he's a decent player. I think he'll have a decent Premier League career. But just for what he will bring, I just can't. I can't imagine myself getting behind him. I really can't. And it's mad because we've had players like Dele Alli who I absolutely adored, but he was my dickhead, and Harvey Elliott someone else's.
No, I can see where you're coming from. It's just I just personally think he walks into our midfield because I don't think we have one centre mid that has even got the capability of getting on Liverpool's subs bench. Now, I know he wasn't a starter for them, but he got games there and that. And name me a centre mid that we've got who even gets on Liverpool's subs bench, realistically.
Yeah, I think for the subs bench, there'd be an option, wouldn't they? Because Endo did play a few games for him, so there'd be an option. But yeah, you when you're talking about starting in their midfield or challenging for that, I think Bergvall is probably the only one. And that's only the last 6 months. Obviously, the first 6 months he was out of it. So, yeah, as I say, I think he's a good player. I'm not saying he's not a good player. And if he come in, he probably would have some sort of impact. But yeah, I just can't have him. I don't know why. I just can't.
No, that's fair enough. I just think he's a player that's good at the moment and also got significant potential sort of thing. I mean, what do you two reckon on it with Harvey Elliott? Could we even get him?
I'll jump in quick because my answer's super boring. I completely shadow Luke, mate. I've got nothing different to say other than what Luke said. He's shit talking little twat. I do not like him. I don't think he's that great.
I echo Luke's views and also what Dietrich said. I'd rather McAtee given a choice. I don't want him anywhere near my club. So yeah, Luke covered that well.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I can see. No,
Sorry,
fair play. No, you know what? I can totally see where you're coming from. I mean, personally, I just think he's superior to what we got, and that just shows how poor what we've got in that midfield. I mean, I think Sarr is average at the best of times. Bentancur's too damaged most of the time. Bissouma, he is who he is. And who else have we got in midfield? Again, I'm bringing Archie Gray, and he's fifth choice to that lot. That just about says it all. I mean, with what's just been said on the side here, Villa selling McGinn. That's the first I've heard of that. If they are selling that, then I'd take him over Lewis all day long. I can't see them getting rid of him.
If they're
He's that
selling
dirty
anyone,
man you need that can play in midfield and be the dirty man.
if they're selling anyone, they're selling Kamara.
You reckon?
Kamara will you'd probably, I think you'd get 50, 55 million for Kamara. They got him on a free transfer, so that goes all for their PSR. I know they only paid a couple of £1 million for McGinn, but he's their captain and all that. I think if they sell anyone, it will be Kamara. And if they do, Spurs should be all over that. he would be top drawer in Frank's system, I think.
Yeah,
Dan, quick question, mate.
go on.
Do you really not rate Sarr at all? Because
No.
can I ask why? I actually think he's a really decent little player.
I'm the first one to criticize him.
Go on.
I'll give you the reason why I think he's in the wrong sport. He's an athlete. He should be one that just runs. He should just be the one that runs round on a mile track sort of thing and just keeps on doing it. He's a machine. I'll give him that in that aspect, but that is all he is capable. Okay, he can have a shot here and there. His passing's absolute shambles at the best of times. His dribbling ain't fucking great with it. His pace and his engine is brilliant, but his tackling ain't great. His shooting, he gets a good shot in here and there. I just don't rate him as a player. I mean, Dietrich, I'll go to you on that one with Sarr. Go on.
Okay, let me start with him.
As well.
I call him this Senegalese Speedy Gonzalez because I'll tell you why I don't rate him. For me, a midfielder, you need to be class and you need to be elegant and you need to be like the spine of the team. When I look at Sarr, nobody can name me 3 qualities he has other than physical attributes, which is running and engine. Is he good at turning with the ball? No. Is he good at passing? No. Is he the smartest player on the pitch? No. So, in my opinion, can you have him on your starting 11 or on your squad to win or like challenge for trophies? No, you can't. You need like the Modric, you need the Rodris, you need quality like that. You need a Marmouche. You see Madison,
He's young though, isn't he? He's only 20, 21.
but at his age, you cannot, like, if you don't have the basics, you cannot get to that level. There's no way. Like, he doesn't even actually thrive at anything. If he was a good passer, but you see, like, his football IQ isn't there, that takes time. But just the basics of football, he doesn't have them.
Sarr is a baby Sissoko.
It's true. No, it's true.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
true.
I just think
Yeah,
you smashed the nail on the head with that.
Yeah.
Go on, Dietrich, carry on.
No, that's a perfect comparison. He's exactly Sissoko, but at least he can shoot on the occasion sometimes.
Yeah,
That's-
I just when we discuss about that doing the dirty work sort of player, I just feel like Sarr could maybe develop into that sort of player.
But if you get a dirty player, I would get like,
He looks like,
for example,
do
do you remember Wanyama? Like, that's the kind of player I want to get, and a destroyer, but at the same time, he's good at something.
Yeah, fair enough.
It's about priorities, I think, for me. Like, in terms of we need to get a better midfield in. But if you're going, especially being in the Champions League, if you're going away to like a Real Madrid and you need someone to just keep running and churn out and tackle and kick people and run up and down and pass and just be a bit of a nightmare, Sarr comes in and does that job. Exactly what he done in the Europa League final. He's the guy that you go to for that occasion, and they're never the best. Park at Man United, they used to go to him all the time and be like, look, just in these games where we just need people, we're not as good, they're better than us, we just need someone to buzz around and cause havoc. I think Sarr can be that man. I don't think he's unbelievable, but I think just as an option, I think he's pretty decent. But yeah, I think if you're looking to start going to like top fours and challenging for titles, I always say this. I mean, we can sit here in an Adit Wico bubble, we can judge our own players, but go and compare them to Cities, go and compare them to Liverpool's. And if our players are not getting in their teams, then we're nowhere near them levels.
Yeah, I think a lot of it just comes down to a personal one. He's one who I really wouldn't give a monkeys if we see the back of him. I would not. I just do not rate him in any means or manner, apart from being that headless chicken that runs around the pitch, and we've already got a couple of them. I mean, Richarlison's that sort of player, isn't he? I mean, it's just I really don't see I don't see him going anywhere except getting more stamina, basically. But then I think someone made a fair point here. Golden Son, I think he made a fair point in the aspect of did Sarr get coached in the last 2 years, though? Fair point. You can say, did any of the players? I mean, out of the whole system, only 2 of them looked good on that pitch, and that was possibly Bergvall. Van der Ven's way it suited him, and Johnson got a couple of goals in there.
Sure, but coach,
you can't say did any of them get coached.
Okay, but can you coach? Can you coach like the basics of football? No, you can't. Like at this age, you should be already good at it, and he's not. So what more can you coach with a player that doesn't even know the basics of football?
But can I ask you a quick question? Do you rate Gattuso Have you ever rated Gattuso?
Gattuso was arguably one of the best captains I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, he wasn't fantastic at passing. Couldn't shoot to save his life. Admittedly, obviously, he was god tier when it came to defensive work. But again, with Sarr, I do say he's very young. Yeah, so I mean, you could say with Gattuso there was a lot of basics he was not good at. And you consider him a legendary player.
No, that's fair the comparison, but at least Gattuso knew how to get stuck in and he knew how to defend and tackle. Honestly, Gattuso was a way better version of Wanyama and Paulinho. And that's what made him great and a legend. I don't see Sarr being that or any close of that.
I mean, for me, Gattuso, he was similar to what I'd say of Roy Keane. He was like a Roy Keane player, basically, for me. I'm not saying he was as good as Roy Keane, because Roy Keane's probably my favourite player ever in the Premier League, but for the wrong reasons, maybe.
He's a Spurs fan, by the way. Just gonna throw that
yeah,
out.
I know. I mean, I'd love to have a Roy Keane on the team, but I don't think a Roy Keane would survive in the Premier League these days. He'd get banned for... No, he'd be out of the system in that aspect. Players can't play that anymore. But Gattuso, for me, he was a Roy Keane sort of player, a Patrick Vieira sort of player. Get stuck in, no remorse, take your legs out if he has to, and he couldn't give a shit in the process, and was a very, very good captain. That was how I'd look at Gattuso as well. I mean,
it's all about his partner as well, right? It's all about the partner you play him with. If you played him with another defensive midfielder, he probably looks poor because they're both doing the same sort of job. But you put him next to a Pirlo where he just goes, look, similar to, we mentioned it earlier, Wanyama's, we've done it with Palacios, we've even done it with Scott Parker. We brought them in and went, look, you go round, you kick people, you run around, and then when you get the ball, you give it to the decent players. So if you turn around and done that with maybe a Sarr and told him to do that, and that was his instructions, maybe he would look a better player if he was next to kept giving it to James Maddison, who's playing well, etc. So,
I mean, people saying on here like PSG doing over. I don't even know the score on there.
They were 3 up at half time.
4-0 now.
4-0.
Is anybody else terrified about that Super Cup? I'm starting to think we might.
It's not going to end well.
I am not looking forward to it. I must admit. Okay, I'll ask that question. Like, go for it. For me, if I'm just going to put it as I see it, we're fucked. Anything can happen.
Wait, Dan, like your famous phrase, we're going to walk like John Wayne after the game.
That's what I was about to say. We come off the players. I think are going to come off the pitch with a bit of a limp, and that's an understatement. Talk about no Vaseline as well. But what do you reckon on that?
Do you know what? It's one thing I don't like about modern life, right, is how kids are not taught how to win from a young age. It's all about the taking part that counts. Everyone's a winner. Here's a trophy for, being part of the show kind of thing. I will be very happy for well done for taking part in this game of football, Tottenham. Thank you for turning up kind of participation trophy, Tottenham, because we are on a different level to them. That being said, the only crumb of comfort I'm going to have is they've obviously gone straight from the Champions League, not had much rest, gone to this Club World Cup. We might get them on a bad day and only lose by a couple and think, it's not too bad. We only lost 2 goals to PSG.
After this, they got to have 3 weeks off, didn't they? The players
the players can come back, but PSG have to give them PSG have to give them their players 3 weeks off, which I think means they come back like 3 days before they play us. But the players can choose to come back early if they want.
Oh, right. I didn't
potentially have a winter break.
Yeah,
I think apart from England, I think pretty much everyone does. I mean, apart from
obviously that's going to help.
I think everyone does. But I didn't know that bit. I thought UEFA basically put it down as a rule they must have 3 weeks off. I didn't know the players could choose to come back early. I mean,
they're still technically employees, aren't they? So they are humans that are employees of businesses. You can't make an employee work 52 weeks a year, can you?
Well, these days they make you work 54, even though there's only 52. I mean, anyone will fuck you over quite happily these days and not really give a toss about you.
But listen, all jokes aside, if we was to play them in the Champions League in that sort of group league phase thing, I'd be very, very worried. I think in this one-off game where there's some underlying sort of situations about it that are a bit different. I don't think it's going to be as bad as people say. Do I think we'll win? No. So that's kind of my view on it.
I don't mind finishing second though.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, top two.
I mean, on its day, I do agree. I mean, I'm one who says this a lot as well. On its day, anything can happen. Yeah, I mean, that's one of the greats about football, isn't it? I mean, even you can get a proper crap team play against a quality team, and that crap team can do that quality team on that day. It is all about on that day. I just don't see us with much of a chance when it comes to PSG at all in any means or manner. I mean, I have not seen a team destroy Inter Milan like they did for a very long time. And the way they've just literally walked over every other team they've played, and the majority of them are significantly superior to us. On a realistic manner, I just don't see us standing much of a chance. But on its day, anything can happen. I will agree with that. But do any of you really think we stand a serious chance?
Puncher's chance. That's it. That's all we've got.
Hit and hope, basically.
Yeah,
I'm gonna be honest.
You need to hope that you need to hope they have a complete off day and we have a really good day, and they're still out partying, and that you need everything to go your way, basically, because they are top draw.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll throw my 2 cents in, mate. If we lose 3-1, I'll be over the fucking moon. Seriously. Like, I'd be happy at that because it's not an embarrassing scoreline. I'll take a 3-1. Yeah, that's how little faith I've got. But I do love the way we're all sort of similar in, you know, their players do have to take 3 weeks off. Maybe we could play the under-16 team. Maybe we'd have a chance, you know. You pray for something to go wrong for them, don't you? But yeah, look, if we lose 3-1, I'll be out celebrating. I'll be happy. As long as it ain't 5-6 nil.
It wouldn't be embarrassing, is it? Would it? Basically.
Exactly.
I mean, out of question, just change it totally. Who's the other one we're interested in from Brentford? I forgot his name now. I'm terrible remembering that. That's the one. Go on. What are your opinions on that? I don't think that's a bad idea from what I've seen of him. I can't say I've seen him play that many times, but I've seen him play a few, and I don't think that's a bad idea. What do you reckon? And the chances?
28 years of age, bases a lot of his play on speed. I'm not so sure, if I'm honest. I'll probably be the only one out of this panel that isn't 100% convinced. I'm sure he's 29 pretty soon as well.
He's going to turn 29.
Is he just about to turn 29? Okay,
Yeah, in
fair enough,
September.
even more. I can't see that being a deal that Levy would go for. You know what he's like. And, you know, he had a great season. He really did. There's no denying it. But I'm not so sure. So, I mean, that's just my little... I'm not convinced that would be a great idea. But, you know, please don't dig me out, boys. I know that's probably an unpopular opinion.
I mean, what do you three reckon on that?
I think if we, obviously, it's not our money, so it shouldn't really bother us too much about the money side of things. But obviously, I think Ben makes a good point there. Will Levy sanction that kind of signing? From my end, if we get rid of a couple of those attacking players, this is someone that isn't an out-and-out winger. He can play through the middle as well. I think, obviously, with the Thomas Frank connection, it's a no-brainer as long as the money and squad makes sense in terms of getting rid of a couple. We don't pay stupid money for him. I think it would be a great signing for us, but I think there's a lot of factors that will stop that signing from happening. But if it all clicks into place and we get him as fans, I think we'll have a good player.
I agree with that. I mean, Luke, what do you reckon on him?
Sorry to kill the hype. I think it's a complete non-star. I don't think there's any interest whatsoever from Brentford to sell. I think this is all a coup to try and get Man United to stomp out the money for Mbeumo. They're not going to sell both of them. And they're not then going to sell Wissa for 28, 50 or 40 million or whatever when they're going to get 65 for Mbeumo, and Mbeumo's in the last year of his contract as well. So I think it's all just deployed to try and get him. I don't understand. I think Wissa's a decent player, but unless we start playing with two up front and we know that we're selling loads of wingers, I can't see how we're going to have winger who's more of a centre forward. Solanke, who's more of a centre forward, Richarlison, who's probably going to be more of a centre forward in a sort of Frank system. I don't see us. If it was a 20 million, 15 million, then yeah, but we ain't spending 40, 50 million on a rotation striker in my eyes.
No, that's what I'm thinking. We ain't, and we don't go out and buy 29-year-olds. If we did, we should go out and get Paulinho all day long, shouldn't we?
Yeah.
I mean, I think you need a couple of players that age in your team as such, but that is just not the role that Spurs seem to be taking, isn't it?
Mhm.
So, out of a question on the side here that just been asked for the panel as such, do you think Thomas Frank will actually be a success under Spurs at these owners? I mean, whoever
No
wants
one,
to
no
answer
one
that.
will like, no one will like my answer. No one will like
Yeah.
my answer.
Just say it how you see it, mate. That's what you can do on here. Just say it how you see it.
What do we class as success? We won a trophy last year. We sacked
Is
the
a
manager.
solid point.
We finished second, finished Champions League final, and sacked the manager a year later. So what is success? If anyone that says winning trophies and finishing in the top four, it's never happened. Spurs have never done that ever. If you look back at all the years we've won trophies, we've always been mid-table. So it depends on what you class as success.
I mean, if you analyse it right, the good and the bad. So the good for Thomas Frank is he can develop players. He's extremely flexible. He's adaptable, which is something we've not had for a while. So they are some of the amazing points. What does concern me is zero sort of European experience, zero. He's not won anything his entire career, and I don't want to say this because it puts a negative spin on it. And the other thing that concerns me the most.
Yeah, but it's an honest opinion. You're just giving your honest opinion.
Fair enough. Look, right. What concerns me the most is this: he had full reigns at Brentford for nigh on 10 years, or something around that sort of time. You ain't going to get that at Spurs, sunshine. You're not. You're just not. So that question was a brilliant question, but you're not going to be getting your hands anywhere near them reigns, you know. And without that, I think a manager like Thomas Frank might not be able to be successful. But like I said, I guess the positives outweigh the negatives, but you do have to sort of take it all into consideration. But will he be successful? Like Luke says, what do you deem successful? I mean, do I think we're going to go and win a trophy this season? No, I don't.
Ben, just a quick question on that. When you say full reigns at Brentford, are you talking about like the transfers? Because
He
football
took- yeah,
side,
from-
he did
yeah,
have full
he-
reigns, but transfers, he had hardly any say in it.
Well, from what I understand, he was kind of, again, this is what I've been told by a few of my Brentford mates. He was allowed to run almost Alex Ferguson style run the club. Not necessarily bang just about transfers, but he was able to change things to how he saw fit, and I don't think he's going to get that at Tottenham.
Because I know from a transfer only, get me words out, perspective, obviously that was club done at Brentford. I mean, their chairman, he made his money doing the data analysis models that, you know, like the old Moneyball.
Yep.
That's how he made his money, and that's how they buy their players. So my question to you is, are you talking full reign over the footballing aspect of the club? Because he never had full reign over the transfers, and that's what makes him a good manager at the top.
This has come from our kind of Brentford fans that are close friends of mine, and they just said he wasn't interfered with. With Levy, we know he tends to interfere from time to time, and I don't think Frank will get that freedom. I know you're right about the transfers, of course you are, but yeah, in terms of footballing aspect, I just from what I understand, Frank won't get that because Levy does tend to interfere. He's done it with every manager we've had. So I think, look, at the end of the day, I genuinely think if all goes to plan, I think Frank could be gone in 16 months. And I know that sounds really negative. That's a genuine prediction. I mean, again,
You really think he'll be gone that early?
Yeah, I do. I think it's a big step up. I really don't want to say this because it looks so bad, but
Say it how you see it, mate.
Nah, no, because it sounds negative, and I'm so fucking sick of not being negative at times. And by that I don't mean the panel, obviously. There's a fan base who's quite negative, with good reason, I suppose. But no, I think given the European experience, given the right, the control he had at Brentford, Levy's not exactly one to back his managers either. So I just feel like the writing might be on the wall for him. I hope it's not, and I hope I'm wrong because, like I say, the attributes he's got, the flexibility, the adaptability, the way he's able to get more out of players is absolutely amazing. But this is Tottenham, and we very rarely see that, right? I mean, when was the last time we saw that? Pochettino, and that was how long ago? So I don't know. Again, I hope I'm wrong, but I've got a funny feeling he'll be gone in 16 months. So
History would prove you right on that as well, Ben. I mean, if we're going successes, trophy wins, our trophy winning managers under Levy, George Graham, Juande Ramos, and Ange Postecoglou, none of them are going to go down as Spurs heroes, are they? Or legends in the long run. And you're right, Pochettino's been the only manager under Levy that's had a sustained period of time to actually build like a proper system, footballing wise, and get the players in. So history would dictate that Frank won't last long. My personal opinion is that I think Frank's got the tools to work under these circumstances better than a lot of the managers we've hired. He's adaptable as well. What success looks like, that's a personal opinion, particularly with the Spurs fans. That's why we see a lot of outroar with the Ange situation. Some would argue winning trophies should be enough to keep a job. Others would argue, well, you can't be getting a 17th and nearly relegated. That should be out of a job. I'm somewhere that our league position should always be up there challenging for the title up until we can't challenge for the title. Whether we're realistically good enough is a different matter, but we should be in the latter half of the season up there with a mathematical chance of doing it. And our cup run should be every single year. We should be aiming to win a cup. That's success for me. Obviously, get a cup every couple of years and have a good tilt at the league every single season. And I think that's sustained success for a club at our level. Obviously, I'd want to win the Champions League, the league, and a cup treble every single season. But realistic aims,
just like Levy does, Dave.
Light work.
Yeah, I won't put a time frame on it.
So embarrassing, that guy.
I mean, Dietrich, what do you reckon on it?
On Thomas Frank?
Yeah. Do you at least think he's going to be here more than 16 months, for God's sake?
I give him 2 years. And to be honest, I'm not going to blame him as a manager because at the first place, I don't want him at the club. But what really scares me for him is I think the fan base they're going to turn on him. And he has a target on his back. Ever since Postecoglou won that trophy, the pressure is going to be too big for him. And I don't blame him. I actually don't blame him because I don't think he's the right person for the job right now. Maybe in the future. But if we got someone like the Glasner of the world, then yeah, people would be happy. But I don't see it working, to be honest with you. And under Levy and these players they have too much power. I don't know. I actually don't know.
I mean, do you know what? You say that these players have too much power. It's true. It's almost like kids these days. They've got more power than their fucking parents.
Yes.
And,
what's the group called? Where there's Vicario, Son, and the other one?
Leadership group.
Yeah, the leadership group. I don't think Frank ever seen that at Brentford. I don't think it even exists at Brentford. So if they're not happy, they're going to go speak to Daddy Levy.
I mean, you say you don't think he's the right man for the job. Do you not think his ability to raise the level of players is something we desperately need?
Well, in order to raise people's levels, you have to look at him and see, did you ever accomplish anything? Do you know one thing? As much as I didn't like Postecoglou, he knew how to speak and he knew how to motivate the players. One thing he was good at. But can Frank do the same thing? Because when you see, let's say, Conte, Mourinho, before they even walk, they command respect. Frank has to be the nice person and he has to get them on board as much as he doesn't I'm pretty sure he doesn't want to do that with some players, the likes of Richarlison and the players that are not good enough in the squad. And that's what I'm scared of for him. I feel like it's going to be a rinse and repeat. The players are going to turn on him. That's what I think.
Do you think he'll be brave and drop people? So apparently, from what I understand, if you are not performing, Frank will drop you. Do you think he'll be that brave at Tottenham?
Well, Postecoglou said the same thing, and he dropped our best player Spence for the Udoki. So I don't believe those interviews. I want it like I'm the type of person, actions speak louder than words.
Yeah.
If he does that, then fair play. If he doesn't, then I know he's like the other puppets. He just lies to the media.
I mean, the way I'll go with this on Frank, yeah, I mean, everybody knows that, I mean, to put it bluntly, I ain't going into the Ange thing. I'm just giving a side on that quick. I personally think one of the worst managers I've ever seen in the English Premier League. I barely even... But he got that Europa Cup. But I've got my reasons why I believe he got it. But either way, he did get that at the end. But I just, as a manager as a whole, I just think incapable was an understatement. But the problem we've got, and I think everyone agrees with it, or a lot of people agree with it, is Daniel Levy. Now, I believe there's a fair few positive sides to him. I think he's done positive things for the club. I think there's certain things he gets to blame for, which really is not his fault. But anyone who comes in, we all know Levy is a problem. Or a lot of us know it. Some of us just want to play ignorance is bliss and totally deny it. Same as some people want to play ignorance is bliss and say Levy has done nothing positive at the club. If you want to weigh it out, there's a hell of a lot more fucking negative than there is positive. But there has been positives he has done for the club. It's just some people like to be narrow-minded and just totally ignore anything good he's done. But I'm sure most of us, well, us on here, would like to see the back of him. So what I think you need at Spurs, whether it works or not is a different story, is a manager who has the capability to work with Levy's way, because it ain't going to change. He only changed it last season because he had no option to. And I think Frank is the sort of manager who's got the capability to work in Levy's way. I think he's a very adaptable manager. He's proved that very much already. And he's more than willing to drop players, bring players in. He's more than willing. We've seen he's got the capability to progress players instead of regress every player in the bloody team, bar maybe two. And he's also got the ability to play with the cards he's got. And I think that's one thing you need under Levy. I mean, it all showed that Conte didn't work and Mourinho didn't work. They're two managers, you bring them in, give them the money they need, and chances are they win you something. That's not what we do at Spurs. I mean, if Frank gets supported the same way Ange did in his first transfer window, I think that's very good. I mean, because Ange got in 3 to 6 players that got into that first team. We've got one so far. One. If he gets 3 players that get into that first team, I think that's a positive window.
He only got back like that because we lost Kane. There's no way that we would have gone and signed Maddison and spent that amount of money.
That's a fair point, Luke. But at the end of the day, he got backed. That's what matters. But I do make you right on that. You're right. And I just think he's got the capability of dealing with Levy's way of dealing with football as such better to a fair few other managers out there. He can play with the cards he's got. I mean, I'm not saying he's a superior manager to like Pep or Klopp or whatever else, but I would love to see someone like Pep or Klopp get Brentford promoted and then get them into the Premier League and hold them stable in the Premier League and not even once get them into that bottom 3. Now, I'm not saying they ain't the best managers out there, whatever else, but I'd love to see a manager of that calibre be able to do it with a club like that. I mean, what's their stadium size? 17,000?
Something like that.
Yeah. I'd love to see one of these world-class managers be able to do that with a team like Brentford. That, I think, deserves a bit of credit on its own. And I don't think he gets much credit for that.
I think that's my fear, though. My fear is that there's levels to this. Obviously, there's levels to
totally.
And is his level just being unbelievable with them sorts of teams? Like, for instance, we speaking about earlier about succession planning, and people will go, yeah, well, he's had Tony, he's had Wissa, he's had this, and it's like, yeah, Brentford have bought them players in. Do you back Spurs to do that? Because I don't. That's the problem. Like we're saying about Son, and it's like if he was at Brentford, all right, maybe not to the level that Son was at, but if he was at Brentford, there would be a succession plan in place where if he leaves, someone comes in, this is how we do it. Are we going to do that? Are we going to actually give him the tools that he needs to be able to go on and implement what he needs, and use the tactics to what he wants? And because this is what I was saying, well, we keep doing the same things over and over again. We go and sign wing backs and then bring in a manager that plays far at the back, and then we sit there and complain that the wing backs can't defend. Well, of course they can't.
When
They're
this
wing
team
backs.
was blatantly made better for a Conte style, wasn't it?
Exactly, and that's what I'm saying. Is that
Unbelievable.
if we keep doing this sort of thing, then we're constantly going to have players that don't quite fit in with the. And you can have an adaptable manager. I completely agree, but if we was to have, if you have a manager that's adaptable in terms of Frank, and he turns around and goes to his fullbacks, you know what? I want you to just sit in with for 10 minutes. Do we back Porro to be great at defending all of a sudden? No, because he's a wing back.
No.
I think this is the problem: is that has Frank been brought in by Levy, because Levy's going to turn around and go, here is 4 players that are £50 million and you're going to improve the level of this team? Or has he been brought in to say, we finished 17th last year, just get us into the top 8 because this is where the squad should be at, and you're barely going to get Kudus, but you're not going to get much else. So it all falls on Levy. It all falls on where does he want to go from now on, in my eyes.
No, I can't really argue any of that. I'd like to, but I can't. So fair play to you in that aspect. It's not very often I get caught in that one. I'd love to argue that, but the point I will just bring with it is, in one aspect, I mean, for me, again, Ange had the easiest job a football manager's ever had. They all know my opinion on this, in winning the fan base, as all he had to do was kick the fucking ball forward, and he won over 90% of the fan base in 2 games. I think Frank, he's got to get, instead of making the players better, he's at least got to get them back to standards again. Because again, bar maybe 2 players, Ange literally regressed every single player in that team. So he's got to get them back to standards at first, which I think is easier than making a player better as such. Do you get where I'm coming from?
Yeah.
And with that, I think he's got more than enough capability of doing that. He seems to have a much better relationship with the players as such. How's that going to work with a few Spurs players? We shall see. How's that going to work with the Spurs fan base? We shall see, because we are quite a want everything yesterday, which I think we're all guilty of at times. I can say I've been guilty of it, and I think I can vouch for you 4 as well, that there is a bit of time where there's you just get frustrated and you want it done yesterday, not another 6 months down the line. I think you could say everyone in football is a bit guilty of that, but I think Spurs are probably the worst in football at it, in the fan wise. I just think he's got the capability to play with the cards he's got significantly better than a few other managers out there. How far can he take it? I suppose only time will tell with that. I mean, on another thing here, I've got a question on here. And this is something that interests me a lot, yeah? I mean, we are Spurs TV. Big up to you, mate. Is there a change for Tottenham protests scheduled for the first match? That one I can't answer. But it brings me to the question that I want to ask. Now, I was at the last protest, and I was there because I want Daniel Levy out. I will still back certain points that he has had positive sides to the club. I mean, the fact that any of us have got the right to sit here and say, I want a superior player or a better player than that, or I want to spend 60, 70 million on players, you've only got Daniel Levy to thank for that. I mean, before then, we couldn't even touch the amount of money that we've actually spent. It's just the problem is we spend it shit. It's like getting 500 quid to go and do some decent clothes shopping, and you fuck off down Aldi's and spend it and come in with a lot of quantity, just lack of quality, basically. You know, chuck your jeans in the wash and they're absolutely fucked after one wash. And that is what we seem to do. We always go for quantity over quality, basically. But with these protests, I've just got a funny feeling, and I really do hope I'm wrong on this, that with the 2,500, 3,000 there, that whatever it was, I don't think the whole thing was Levy out. I think there was a lot of Levy out to it, but I think there was a lot of Ange out to it, and a lot of people that had the ump because we was in 15th, 16th or 17th place, whatever it was at Southampton, the one I was at. And now that some people are also very easily satisfied as well, change their opinion on the manager within 98 minutes. And I just don't think there's going to be the same force at the next protests, because I think there was a lot of people there who was actually Ange out. Now, I do think there'd be ones there because we should have kept Ange, so they will think, but nowhere near to that degree. I mean, what do you think on the protests? I mean, at the end of the day, do you even think they're worth doing? Anyone
I
is?
think it's fucking boring, mate. It's boring. These protests are doing nothing. Daniel Levy does not care. He does not care. I mean, look, listen, at the end of the day, the only way you can hurt Daniel Levy is financially. We don't have the power to do that. All Daniel, and I've said this before, all Daniel Levy does when he sees our little rabble of protesters, and again, listen, I respect them because it's pure passion. But he's upstairs in his little office looking down at you, wiping his tears with your £50 notes. I just don't see the point in protests. I don't think they achieve anything. And again, I really need to get this across. You know, I do admire the people that go and do it, but what's he really achieving? What are people expecting to happen? You know, I mean, I don't know what the rest of the panel think, but I'm not sold on them.
I think it depends on what the thing is. You're never going to know if they impact him or not because you don't know what the alternative was. So I'd argue that it's not an impactful in terms of getting him out of the club. I don't think it's going to get him out of the club. Without the protest, would he have increased the ticket prices again this year? I think he would have, but they stopped that and he made it the same as the year before. So I do think it has. I think it has impact. I think it has a little bit of impact. Whether it has massive, as I say, I don't think it's going to get him out of the club or anything like that. But in terms of the first game of the season, I think this is actually winning the Europa League could be one of the worst things that happen for Levy because now there's an expectation. We all sat there as the fans going, if we win this, we need to kick on. We need to go and sign some big players to prove that we're here. I know we've obviously got Kudus over the line now, but if we don't go and sign anybody else and we get into the first game of the season and we maybe get a loss or we struggle in the first couple of games, people are going to sit there and look at him and go, there's a sliding doors moment here. You had it in the Champions League. You didn't move, you didn't do a single thing, and we plummeted. And then now this is the second chance where we've hit that top table again now. Really, really prove what you're doing. And I think if he don't, I think the fans could end up getting worse than what it was. Because that was the springboard. If we didn't win that, we could have been a club that sat in the top 10, top 8 for a long period of time because the people above us, Newcastle, have got money, City, you know what I mean? But now we've reached that Champions League. I think a lot of fans could be sitting there going, like, do you know what? If he don't kick on now, then he literally never will. There's never going to be another moment.
It'll be the catalyst, won't it? I'd imagine that'd be the catalyst that sends Spurs fans over the top if he doesn't move. That's a really good point to bring up.
By Spurs, so who knows?
I mean, what do you two reckon on it, Dave? Dietrich?
I'm kind of like each to their own when it comes to the protest. I think if you're going to moan and complain, then go and protest and do something about it. If you're generally happy with things, then why would you go and protest? It's one of those that it's not even criticism. The only thing I would say on the matter is don't just sit there and moan and moan and moan. Go and do something about it if you want it to change. Unfortunately, I think our club is we're very much that modern fan base now where the hardcore percentage and the core fan percentage, I'm having trouble with my words tonight, that percentage of fans is decreasing and decreasing, and the majority of fans these days are the commercial fans that will go and visit and spend money in the shops because they can only do it once a season at best, or they travel down from other countries or they even travel from other parts of the UK, and it's a day out. It's an experience, so they go there and put the money in Levy's pockets. The actual hardcore fan percentage is dwindling. I wouldn't say dwindling as if it's like dying out. What I'm saying is it's just getting smaller. But I personally don't think unless you get big numbers at a protest, you're not going to change much. That being said, if you are unhappy, then go and protest, then do something about it. Just don't sit there and moan in the background. Otherwise, nothing will change. But I'm kind of in the middle. You know me, Dan. I'm kind of, when I first came on these podcasts a year and a half ago or whatever it was, I was very much defending Levy overall. Over the last year and a half, obviously, I've sort of turned that against it with what's been happening. So I'm kind of in the middle. I can see both sides of the argument. So if you're unhappy, do something about it. If you're happy, then great, crack on.
I think that's a fair point. I mean, Dietrich, what do you reckon?
I think I'm gonna get cursed by everyone, but like I said, we all say our opinions. I think the process is, unfortunately, at Tottenham, a waste of time.
Okay.
And
go
I'll
on.
say why. First of all, in order to protest, you have to
I mean,
protest.
one second, Dietrich. What does anyone in the chat think about the protest? Are they worth it or not? Go on, Dietrich.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt you.
No worries. I think it's a waste of time because there's no point of just marching on the streets and singing about Levy out. If you are really Levy out, you should be on every front, which is season ticket, merch, protesting in the stadium, like many stuff you have to do. And I feel like people, they just pick and choose what they want to do. I think just screaming Levy out is a waste of time. And unfortunately, we are not the club that's like, we have fan base that actually cares, or like, I don't promote violence, trust me. I just promote like you have to make it uncomfortable. And the only way to make it uncomfortable is to make it toxic in the stadium where people don't want to go. That's what I would do.
I mean,
Honest opinion.
with that, I agree. I mean, when I went to the protest, I must admit, the one thing I didn't like about it was the fact that we're walking down the street saying we hate Daniel Levy, but we love Kulusevski. And I'm thinking, what the fuck has Kulusevski got to do with this? I mean, for me, you couldn't have sung more of a woke song if you tried. And what I mean, there's other ways I could rephrase to that, but I'm sure people get what I'm saying with it and that. And I just, what are we doing here? Why are we singing this? Why are we protesting? Why are we singing songs like that? Protests do work. Man United didn't like their shirt and 10,000 turned up at a protest and things got changed. But at Spurs, we don't seem to support ourselves like that. And this is why I've done 3 shows now calling it Divided and Conquered. Because we ain't just split down the middle. We're split down about 8 sides, and you got like 8 apes, basically. I mean, I don't know, at some stages you got a quart sitting there, but most of the time it's just an eighth. And with that, it's just, that is our fan base. And I don't think there is enough interested or got the willpower to actually make these protests work. Now, for me on the protests, obviously I'm going to have to try it and be careful how I say this. I think it's like life in the aspect of you don't really get to the top or get where you want to through just being nice. Until these protests become a problem. Now, people can transfer a problem to whatever they want. But until we become a problem, until these protests get noticed, until they get not just, oh, the Spurs players will walk, the Spurs supporters, 2,500 of them were walking down the road singing, we want Levy out, time for change, and we love Kulusevski. You know, I don't think you're going to get more than noticed, except by a few other fans looking at it thinking, what are they doing? And until you become a problem, until you start turning up at events that aren't necessarily football and giving it some hassle there and making it a bit more awkward for people, and just become a problem, become a pain in the arse. I don't see what they can change that much. I'll still go to the next one because I'm there because I want Levy out and that. But until we become a problem, I really don't think it's going to change anything. And it depends what you want to call being a problem. I mean, there's nobody who would be queuing up for a music event would like, let's say, a bucket of water poured over their head, if you get what I'm saying. It's just an example, not what I'm suggesting.
Yeah. Disrupting his economic activities. There
we go.
I know.
Go on, Dave. Say the words for me. You're better at that shit.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. Turn up to the concerts, disrupt the concerts, make it so people don't want to go watch concerts at the stadium. You know, the old Skywalk. Go stop them, like on a Monday afternoon when we haven't even got a game on. I know that's the polite way of what you're trying to say.
Or cut the power lines.
The only problem
that's a criminal act. That so we don't sponsor that kind of behaviour.
The caveat to all of that. The caveat to all of that is that if you start becoming a problem, then you start getting labelled as hooligans, and then you lose all your calls. So the problem is that this is why, and we're all this is all about opinions. Everyone's about opinions, but it's very easy to say that that's completely wrong. We shouldn't be doing it like that. But actually, you could lose a lot of people, and that was apparently. And I wasn't at the first sort of protest that kind of ever came around, but they did seem, from what people have told me, in any case, is that they were a little bit more aggressive, and it was a little bit like, if you don't agree with us, you're wrong, and that then gets people's back up, and they're like, no, I'm not wrong because I don't agree with you. And also, if you want to start being hooligans, and football already has that tag anyway, then you lose the kind of, essentially what you want to do is, you've got people at the protest that are on one side, very, very far side of what they believe in. And what you need to do is kind of pull the people that are in the middle to come along that ride with you. And as soon as you start bringing aggression, as soon as you start bringing problems, as soon as you start becoming a bit of a nightmare, then what people do is they go the other way, and they go, actually, use are the idiots, and they're all right. So it's a real, real difficult one. There isn't I don't think there's a perfect example of it, unless you just have, as you said, if there's 10, 15,000 people that just turn up, then you've got them sort of numbers. But it's about attracting more and more people to the understanding of what we kind of are and what they're kind of going for. So I'm not saying you guys are wrong. I'm not saying that what's being done's right. I don't know. I'm far too to be able to know the answer, but I'm just saying there is.
But that's kind of why I was saying, like, you know, I wasn't condoning anything beyond turning up outside a Beyonce concert and singing Levi Out songs as people were going in to get there to watch the concert. It would have more of an effect than, say, it's a match day walking up the high road and doing exactly the same thing, just singing songs. If they're doing it outside the extra economic activities that Daniel Levy's got going on, that's going to hit him harder, because I don't think it hits harder at the footballing games, is kind of what I was going with that. But you're right, you are absolutely right. You risk alienating other people when you start going extreme with your individual actions, because you're right, there's probably a lot of people that do want Levy out or a change at the board level, but are probably not going to do anything about it. Whereas if you're protesting in the right way, then you can encourage them to join you on that journey, right? That's kind of what you're saying, Luke, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it. As I say, your idea is that if there was 50,000 here, you're not trying to attract the middle ground, but actually what we're trying to do now is attract the people in the middle, the people that kind of go, yeah, do you know what, I do want him to change a little bit, or
because we've got such a lack on that side as such.
Yeah, if you had 15,000 people turning out every single game, and I'm talking just football, just every single game, 15,000 people turning up, that's a different to 2,500 or 3,000 turning up every 6-7 games, whatever it may be. But because we've still got that people that are on that far end that want to go to protest, because it's a lot of effort. It's not just like people going to do that and spending time out of the day. Some people don't even go into the ground because they're so protest you're trying to attract the people in the middle there. Do you know what I mean? There's 60,000 people that go to the ground. A lot of them are going to be people that are there one-off games and not really included, but you talk about loyal fans that turn up week in, week out. You're trying to attract the people that don't have that strong of opinion. And as soon as you start getting aggressive or violent, or you're wrong, we're right, anything like that, then they just kind of go, no, do you know what? I'm going to more that side now just because you're being the way you are.
You know what? I can totally agree with you, because that's just the way it's come. That's the political side of things these days. I mean, the minute you don't agree with something these days, you're fucking phobic or other things than that. You're literally labelled to try and kill you, basically, and to try and kill your opinion, you get labelled. But it seems to work everywhere else. It seems to work in Italy. It seems to work in Spain when they've got the issues. It seems to work in France when they've got those problems. And it seems to work at other clubs, like it did Man U, like it did Arsenal in the end, when they stopped punching each other and all teamed up with each other. But I do agree with you. To what extent do you take it? But then how do you attract the other side? How do you get noticed then? Because again, until you become a problem of some sort, it's not going to rattle anything. I mean, the other thing I do struggle with is a lot of people who do also talk about they want Levy out, this and that, and they have season tickets. I personally struggle with that one, to understand that one. I won't give them no money, but still get a season ticket. But on that side of it, I also get that why should you have to miss the football for it? And maybe you need those people in the stadium to try and start something in there as well. I just feel we're in a bit of a catch-22 at the moment, because what you said, look, is true, and Dave, what you said is true. The second maybe that you get too loud, or someone thinks you're too loud, we're in a lifetime these days where, like I said, the second you disagree with something or seem a bit louder than others, you're phobic to it or whatever.
I mean, you can imagine the media sitting there going at any sort of protest, but specifically football, going, just have one rag, just someone throw one punch that's not even part of the protest, and this is going to be all over the back pages, hooligans again, and you can just imagine them sitting there going, please do it, please, just because that's what
of course,
be hooligans. That's all it will be labelled as, and then. Once you're labelled that, it's like when you're having an argument with someone, you're having a disagreement, don't agree, and then you just start throwing words at them and slagging them off and everything else. You lose the argument, and that's the kind of balancing act. You're right, you want to become a problem, but you need to become a problem in the right way. How do you do that? As I say, there's people far more intelligent that are working this out than me, but
it's a bit of a catch-22, isn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Basically, what you're saying. Go on, Dave.
Sorry,
go on.
I was just going to say one other thing about it is, we've got to remember that football is an escape for a lot of people. They go to work, they have crap at work, they got crap in their family lives, they got crap going on in life in general, and football's the escape. So sometimes you don't want to get involved with the extra side of that football. You just want to go and watch a game of football with your mates, right? Regardless if there's crap going on. So it is hard. Sorry.
That's fine, mate. It's frustrating, isn't it? Like with anything these days, like I said again, like the minute you disagree with something and that, I mean, you're either labelled, or the minute you put something that people disagree with, you get put in prison these days. And with that, it is a very tricky situation. Basically, what I take in from what you're saying, Luke, and from what you're saying, Dave, until you've got at least 5,000 of us going upwards, walking up the street screaming, things ain't going to change. So you've got to build it to try and get those people onto your side, basically. So in doing it in a way where you become too much of a problem, as in the aspect of like those dickheads with the oil gluing themselves to the roads and everything and that, where they just became too much of a problem to the public, basically, and they ended up losing a lot of
such a good example
they could have brought in, basically.
That's exactly it. A lot of the people that sat on the fence for that kind of went, "Well, you stopping ambulances? Like, I don't care what your point is. I don't care if you're right.
Yeah,
I'm on the other side now." Do you know what I mean? So, and that's exactly
like
what is a great example.
That poor fella stuck in the car, basically, who couldn't get his mother up the hospital, and has my sympathies. I mean, if I'm in that situation, I'm accelerating, but then I'm in a court case. But it's the thing I could just think of with it. It is, isn't it? You start becoming a problem to other people, then you're obviously not going to get them join you on your side, are you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
so
exactly.
How can you make these protests work then?
The best thing, it's a long process, but the best thing in my eyes, the only thing, as I say, I'm not pretending I have any idea about it, but the thing for me is that you keep putting eyes on, you keep saying these are the reasons why. You pick and choose when you do it, and for instance, like Crystal Palace, when we was playing on the Sunday, I think it was a Sunday game, Sky was covering it. They covered all of the protests, all the journalists covered all the protests. You're getting eyes on, and people are starting to understand, because the facts is that other fan bases are going to look at it and go, "You've just won the Europa League. 6 years ago, you was in the Champions League. What are you lot talking about?" But there's more to it. There is more to it. Mm-hmm. But for me, I said it about Frank. There's levels to this game, and I think that there needs to be a change. But the reason why there needs to be a change is because Levy set the standard. These standards weren't here when I started supporting Spurs 20 years ago, because we were having Gary Doherty and Anthony Gardner at the back, and it was hilarious football because we were so bad. So he's put in these expectations now. But sometimes you get to a level when you go, "Do you know what? We need to go to that next step." And he's not, I don't think he's capable of taking us to that next step.
But so has the nerve to come out in an interview saying we need to win the Champions League. We want to win the Premier League.
No, he said he wants to win the Champions League. He done that in the most intelligent way possible by not doing it the way Ange did it. Ange turned around and said, next season, I want us to be going for that title. And that was the biggest mistake, probably one of the biggest mistakes he ever made. Whereas Levy turned around and said, I want to win titles, I want to win Champions Leagues, and that's all that got said with it. I mean, that's had to be one of the most cringe.
As a Levy hater, does that not just? I mean, that's the man has got brass balls to come out and say something like that.
Yeah, but say he goes and makes another 2 signings that are £60 million this summer, then you sit there and go, oh well, hang on a minute. Do you know what? This is what I'm saying. Is he's made the statement. It's the proof
this
now.
Is what I was. This is what I
think
was
it's too late.
earlier.
Honest, even if
This is what I was basically saying earlier, in the fact of that I feel a lot of people at those protests were Levy out, but I think there was a significant more amount that people realised that was more just there because of the situation we was in and wanted Ange out at the same time, and we were doing shit. Now that we've won in the Europa Cup, and now that we've... Example I'll give here, yeah? People wanted to do the protests in the last game before the Europa Cup, yeah? I didn't think it was a good idea to do it for the reason being that if we would have lost that cup, you know there would have been a big part of a fan base that would have diverted. It weren't the players' fault, it weren't Ange's fault, it was the protesters' fault that put the players off and everything else, and 2 weeks later they couldn't play football and win the cup. You know it would get blamed on someone. And that's basically what you're saying with things, isn't it? One way or another, you will always get blamed for something, isn't it?
Yeah, of course. And as I say, the whole getting to the Champions League final was never, when I was growing up, when I was going to school, when I was say Arsenal fans everywhere, I never ever dreamed of the thought of my club getting to a Champions League final. But Levy has put structure in place at this club where it's elevated us hugely. The problem is that I think he's hit that ceiling. I don't think he's going to be able to take us to that next level. And and people might not like this, I think he would be fantastic if he was on the commercial side and he stayed on that commercial side, and there was someone that was bankrolling it. If I had billions, I'd be looking and going, do you know what? I'd employ him and keep him there, and I'll just give him more money. Do you know, I what he's done is absolutely, it is brilliant. What he's done. Like,
essentially, he's made the club bigger without winning a trophy or winning trophies.
Yeah. And I'd like to see a chairman with that capability. He has made us the 7th richest club in the world.
Go to the top 20 in the 20 biggest clubs, richest clubs, however you want to put it, in the world. Every single one of them are either consistently Champions League, consistently winning cups, consistently winning league titles. They're massive, like they're Juventuses of this world. We're none of that, and we're still there. What he's done is absolutely ridiculous. But again, it's about levels, and going that next step, I don't think he's got it in him. I don't think he has. No, I think that's where the Kane needs to come.
Basically, with me, and probably the last I'll go on it, another 5 minutes and we're done. It's the fact of that there is 2 sides to it. There is business and there is football. And for us, it's the fact that he focuses on the business more than anything. And on the business side, if I took over at Spurs, I'd ask Levy to keep his job, basically, to an extent where I'd say, right, you ain't having fuck all to do with football. But on the point of making concerts, this and this, I will keep you on your job, because in that aspect, he's probably the best out there at it, for the way he made us from a bang average club to the 7th richest in the world. It's just we don't do nothing on the football side. So on that one, it is just, until he leaves, basically things ain't going to fucking change here. And I think
unless we do get hugely bankrolled and someone says you can stay involved and you can be part of the process. And as I say, just look at the numbers, man. The numbers, they don't lie. What he's done is just ridiculous. But it's about hitting your ceiling and going on to the next thing. And I don't think he'll do it. But again, coming into the summer transfer window, this is why, if he turns around and actually does go and goes, do you know what, we're going to go and sign say we go, I know Eze's probably gone, but you go get Kudus, you get Eze, you go get Polinia, and then you sit there and go, well, hang on a minute, he might have actually turned a corner now. Like, there's poor reasons.
All of a sudden, a lot of people shut up and sit back to watch, don't they?
100%. And I think that's what, again, I had one of them on my pod recently, and I was like, where are you at? And he's like, we're waiting, because the whole thing we want is change. And if he goes and signs 3 big players for the first team and spends 150 million, that is change. That's what we want. We want it to change. All we want is Spurs to get better and to start challenging on the pitch. And if we start doing that, if Levy's the owner or he's not, or chairman, whatever, that's the change that some people want. Well, everyone wants Spurs better, but I'm saying that it's changed for Tottenham. It's not Levy out.
But we have been drained that much that we are that easily satisfied in some ways, this fan base as well, isn't it? Right,
I was
so
going
I'm going to leave it.
Is that acceptable?
Go on, Ben.
I was going to ask, do you believe if he was to turn a corner, which, God, we could only pray, but do you think it would be too late? Because I'm going to be really honest with you. What he's put us fans through from the footballing side of things, I think it's too late. I think he's got to go regardless.
We're a fickle bunch, mate. We're a fickle bunch.
No, in that aspect, Ben, I disagree with you because
No, fair enough, mate. I've been through too much fucking pain.
Look, the thing that says it all here, and I'll use him as an example here, is Stell. When I can get Stell sitting on here admitting that if in the next 5-6 years we went on, I can't remember the exact number he said, but say over the next 10 years we go and win 8 trophies and that even he would be willing to back down a bit, that just about says it all for me. Yeah? That just about says it all. And I could understand why as well. Yeah, that's no insult to him, whatever. But when you can get someone who is that much Levy out to say, right, we go and win 8 titles in 10 years, like 8 cups, whatever, in 10 years, he's willing to back down a little bit, but at least willing to back down. And then you've got a lot, of other fan base who are also at that stage. Well, we've just won a Europa Cup. What are you fucking complaining about? And they're already satisfied. We're that drained, basically, that give us a couple of cups, basically, on a regular basis, and we're shut up and say Levy can stay, basically. That is how
recency bias. That's all it is. The same with players. You have a player that has a bad year, and we think he's terrible. Get him out. One player comes in and has after 6 months decent. We're going, oh, he's a top player. I think if we go and win, if next year we won the FA Cup, people are not going to be sitting there going, he needs to go, especially if he goes and signs a few more players. So, but there will be some people that it will take longer to kind of convince them. It won't be if we win a cup next year. It will be if we compete for 3-4 years on the trot. But the facts are is that if we start winning trophies and he does start spending money and the wages go up and we start actually competing and looking like it, he can definitely turn it around. Personally, I think.
No, I agree. What's that saying? Danny has records to set. League Gunners set the bar. You know what? I've been related to that fella enough times and that. I don't know. Either way, see it as you wish. Right. I just want to say big thanks to everybody watching because I better come up, otherwise I'm going to get a smack round the side of the head. And Dave, I'm sure we'll catch up with you soon on here. Ben, I'm sure we'll catch up with you very soon as well. Luke, anything you're doing soon?
Yeah, I'm streaming tomorrow. Got a few guests on. We're going to obviously go over the Kudus deal. Apparently, I've just seen it's supposed to be announced tomorrow as well. So that'll be a good thing. But yeah, I'll go live every Thursday, so I'll be on tomorrow. Got a few good guests. Should be a good one.
Okay, and Dietrich, we're going to see you anywhere soon?
Honestly, other than your shows, probably not going to see me anywhere else. No.
Okay, I can understand that.
Because I don't want to be cancelled by other people.
That's loyalty, Dan. That's loyalty, that.
Isn't it just? That is a bit of loyalty, isn't it? Right,
that's Daniel Levy to Ange.
Right. Yeah. Right, thanks for coming on, panel. Much appreciated. Been really good tonight. And thanks for everyone watching. And I will catch up with everyone soon. Have a good night.